to take a moment of silence for our own trustee's mom, who's been a very integral part here in the village. She has passed away, so I'll ask for a moment of silence for her at this moment.
You entered access code 523110.
All right, thank you so much. Madam Clerk, can you please have the roll?
Trustee Bell?
Here.
Trustee Brewer? Here. Trustee Grant?
Here.
Trustee Jazinski? Trustee Todd? Here. Trustee Williams?
Okay, we'll go right into the presentations. The first one is going to be sponsored by Trustee Finch. It's going to be Treasurer Finch. I'm demoted him that quick. MSI software proposal by Dan McDonald. I see you're all set, so you can come right up.
Did Anthony have anything to say?
I don't think he does. He's just, yes, go right in. Mr. Finch, you don't have anything to add to this, do you?
No.
Okay. So, Mr. McDonald, you're going to do a proposal for us, MSI software proposal. No, as long as you stay where you are. Okay. Is that mic on?
Would you do me a favor then? You see me in the packet next to you? Can you grab one of those and put it over the mic's head?
My name is Dan McDonald, the sales manager of sales manager of MSI, that's Municipal Systems. I'm also the sales manager of MCSI. My name is Dan McDonald. I'm the sales manager of MSI, which is Municipal Systems Incorporated in Palos Heights, Illinois. I'm also the sales manager for a company called Municipal Collection Services, Inc., which uses us for collections. They are two separate companies, but they are owned by the same principal. MSI is a software company, and we have various applications that are used by many of the South suburban municipalities surrounding the area. Ticketing and adjudication, building department software, vehicle sticker and animal tag, alarm management, to name a few. We have closer to the mic.
You know what? You can just take the mic out.
Okay.
And hold it.
This is good. I'm getting closer here. And we have over 70 customers on the MSI side. We actually have over 100 customers using MCSI collections. So some of the things that I'm going to cover today related to the ticketing and adjudication software, I'm actually going to cover a couple different modules. The ticketing and adjudication, and it is also my understanding that the village may be looking to bring the permitting and inspectional services in-house. We have software to manage that as well. I can cover as much of that ground as we'd like to. But the software, some of the features within the software is the ability to be able to issue and track tickets. That can be done with paper tickets, and they can be entered in the office, or you have squad ticketing. You have ticketing with tablets, and we have smartphones, which can be used for parking tickets. That's typically more useful if you have a downtown area where you have CSOs walking around. We interface with leads. We actually have two types of an interface. One would be a direct connection with the state police. The other would be is if you have an RMS CAD system where you run a leads query. We can parse that data out from your squad laptops directly into our ticketing, ultimately just saving tons of time for officers to enter in tickets or warnings. Our software supports citations, it supports warnings, it has an administrative tow process, so you can automate that process as well. There's a workflow setup that basically just allows me to determine how I want the flow of my tickets. An example might be if you had repeat offenses, tall grass, and that wasn't getting, and $100 or $50 fine wasn't getting someone's attention. Based on the number of times that that ticket is issued, you could escalate those fines. That's all driven by the workflow. But you can attach photographic images to your tickets, which I'll talk about the benefits of that. And that can be done either by taking a picture and uploading it, or if you're using a tablet, you can use the onboard camera with the tablet to take photographs. They'll be seamlessly attached to either tickets, or even if you were using our inspection product, it will be attached to inspections. You can have add unlimited notes. We have an online credit card payment service, so as tickets are issued, they are immediately saved in the database. So if someone wanted to pay a ticket, they could go on and pay a ticket within 5 minutes of that ticket being issued. Currently, it's my understanding that there's no online payment process in place. And I'll cover some of the things. I did a discovery when I interviewed people here and found out some of the things about your current system, your current technology, and I'll point out some of the benefits of our system over what you're doing today. Automatic generation of notices. The docket and the actual hearing process is there's an electronic check-in, electronic docket. You can on-demand or auto-generate the final paperwork, making it very easy to manage. Internal controls for generating reports or exporting data. You have the software will address minors, it addresses sealing of records, it addresses record expungement, all things that have come about recently in the state statutes. Control the frequency and timing of sending records to collections. I'm going to embellish on that a little bit because that's an ongoing issue right now that's actually costing the village money. It's a hosted environment, so there's no server that needs to be purchased. We provide the server, we do your data backups, we update your operating systems on the server, so really you're just going to be using the software at the devices that need it. And this particular product, Core 360, is a new solution. We've been in business since 1991. First product was DOS, then it was Windows, then it was client server, then it was web-based. Today it's a browser-based solution, it's brand new technology. So what benefit would that bring to the village? You'll be getting in on new technology, and that means the life of the software use would be extended drastically by being on new technology. So some of the benefits that are going to come along with some of the features that I mentioned. You're going to reduce or eliminate back office data entry if you happen to implement squad or tablet ticketing. That requires printers to be in the squads. So you have to contend with some hardware purchases, but a typical ticket today in environments where they handwrite, it can take 2 to 3 minutes to handwrite a ticket and another couple minutes to key that ticket in. In our system, because of the way we've developed it, the drop downs, it takes about 40 seconds to enter a ticket in. So the amount of savings based on the number of tickets, I'll point that out in another slide, is pretty significant. So you have less time, data entry time, greater efficiency for your officers. Citations are going to be immediately added to the database upon entering them in, so they are available to pay with the online payment service. Photographic evidence at a hearing is going to create less disputes, and that we find that out at the municipalities that use their software. All the required paperwork can be printed at the hearing or after the hearing if you want to. If you didn't want to have a printer at a hearing, you don't have to. With our system, though, we do what they call a subscription. There is no upfront cost if you want to go with a subscription model. We also do provide options for municipalities. If they want to pay a larger sum up front, they can. We will discount that price, but typically there is no upfront cost to going with our product. And with this new software, it's going to be a much greater user experience than what is currently being used. So I did a discovery, and I talked to a few people here. I talked to Sue, I talked to Nikki, I talked with Anthony about some of the challenges and some of the things that the village faces. Based on the volume of tickets that are issued, the mobile ticketing would reduce data entry at the PD 8 hours a month. So there's some immediate savings. You could also eliminate pre-printed ticket books, more savings. Right now, the village hall has limited or no access to the ticketing system. So with the MSI software, there would be no limit on the number of users. We don't have a user count. You can install it wherever you want. So if you need village hall personnel to have query and payment capabilities, you can set that up, and they'll be able to make a payment on any ticket. And because the technology itself is all a consolidated database, and I'll point this out in some of the other applications, you would be able to see if somebody had a building code violation, if they had a parking ticket, they had an LO violation, they had a vehicle sticker that they were due, even down to the point where if you move into the permitting and the inspectional software, if someone came in to pay for a ticket, you would also see that, or if they came in to pay for a permit, you'd see if they have a building code violation or a parking ticket. Your policy could be, we can't allow payment on the permit until you pay for everything. I'll show you a little bit about that. So right now, it's my understanding there's no option in your system to electronically attach photographic evidence. So yes, somebody can take a photo and they can put it with the paperwork at the hearing. With our system, you really don't have to print the paperwork before going to a hearing. If you have 20 people on the docket and only 3 people show up, at the time they check in, you can say print the paperwork for those 3 people. That's all I really need at this point. But I was told also that there's no internal option or control for printing the notices internally, that you have to contact your IT department to print your hearing notices. This control would be now at the fingertips of the operators. So we have expanded reporting capabilities and the ability to export data to Excel. I noticed when I was here, there was some very limited reporting capabilities and ways to analyze data. We could certainly expand on that. This next point, the internal control for sending files to collections. This is an issue, and this issue is costing the village money. And the reason I say that is files do not get sent to us on a regular basis like other customers. Our customers who use the MSI software go through a process, and the process is this. Show me all the records that need to go to collections. I see my list. Push the button. They are now in collections. That does not happen in Sauk Village. Every 5 or 6 months, I need to contact your IT department and say, please send us files. So why would that cost money? Well, all the municipalities that surround Sauk Village are currently enrolled in the IOC Local Debt Recovery Program. That is a date and time-based program. So when municipalities like Linwood, Crete, University Park, Park Forest, Chicago Heights, Steger, Richmond Park, Madison end up sending their files, they are getting it in a timely fashion, and they are getting into the IOC. Those are all MCSI customers, and they are all using the MSI software. So, strangely enough, people who get tickets in Sauk Village also get tickets in Chicago Heights. They get tickets in Crete. They get tickets in University Park. They get tickets in Linwood. They get tickets in Riverdale. And if they get their files in first, they're getting paid first. 2 $500 tickets paid in a month would pay for the software. So this, and the other problem is when files don't make it to us in a timely fashion, they become that much harder to collect on. Tickets that sit for 6 months may have been through the hearing process, they've been through administrative review, so they don't make it to collections until 2 or 3 months after somebody's found liable. Now they sit for 6 months. 9 months later, somebody, that's just going to make it that much more difficult to collect that ticket. The other benefit is if you're using the MSI software, because we're in the same building, a debtor has a right to ask for a copy of the ticket. If they do, the MSI staff or MCSI staff can just contact MSI and say, can you get us a copy of that ticket? And they'll print it for you. Your police department, your building department will not have to do that. So, with the discovery and the conclusions/assumptions that we made, your current software is written in outdated technology. It's an access database, which is old, that has challenges with multi-users. There will be challenges then being able to upgrade computers to new operating system because there could be some mismatches in operating systems and technology. So it would be reasonable to believe that you run into upgrade and computer mismatch challenges. With MSI, there are enhancements and upgrades that are provided on a regular basis. So an example would be if state statutes change and the software needs to change, we make sure those changes happen on a regular basis. When expungement came out, we made sure that we got that into the software very quickly. And we have 70+ clients, so they're giving us input on things that happen rather than having just one user, and I believe that you don't have using your current software that you're using. So the other thing is we have current technology. This is a brand new system. It has the latest technology. It has a great user experience. You'll see some screens. It also has what they call API, Application Programming Interface Architecture. What that does, that will allow you to connect up with other systems as long as they are the same. So if you end up with a new accounting system, you said, well, we have tickets that get paid here, but we want it to be in the AR system here. We don't want to have to rekey it in. Our technology will allow us to connect up and send those files very easily. Again, I don't know what systems you're using, and I don't want to make a blanket statement that we can connect up with anyone, because that would not be correct. But if you're using current technologies in other departments, it's much easier to do that. So, first off, is there any questions? I covered a lot of ground and I covered it very quickly. Is there any questions on what I mentioned?
I do have one quick one. Our current software that we have, I don't know if you're familiar with that. Do we have to upgrade that in order to get this, or can you mesh with our current software? Do we have to change our software?
Which software?
Civic.
The what now?
Civic.
Civic Systems?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay.
That's your accounting software.
Right.
In fact, we have already done an interface with Civic Systems with one other client where we pass the accounts receivable data from our ticketing system. So no, absolutely not. That system would be fine in place. It's going to be used for those functions, which would be your, I'm guessing your financials, your maybe water billing, or those types of functions. No, you don't have to worry about changing.
Okay.
Okay. This isn't the most proper forum to demonstrate software, and I've really just got some screen capture so you can get an idea of what the system has. This is a property search, and the biggest point that I want to make out or make here is this is, if I was going to search a property, here's where I would put the search information in, and down here is where I'm going to get the results. But what I pointed out before, I've highlighted on a property. If you look over at this 360 property view, that's where you will see everything. So if the village said we are also looking for software to manage contractor license, to manage permits, to manage inspections, to manage service requests, to manage business licensing, 360 property management will allow us to do that in addition to our ticketing. And what happens in this 360 view is where people will see anything that's going on. The property is the foundation for our software. We would load a property database and then build around it in order to use our ticketing. That's why I want to point that out. So when you're going in and your top view of your system, up here, it's got people, which is where we keep contractors, properties, and that's going to be permits and inspections. And we've got vehicle information, violations. The violations is the part that we're talking most about right now. I can go search and enter violations and tickets. Trust me. So what we can, in the drop down there, it gives me the option, and again, it's a little bit hard to see. It can say search or it has new. So I can go search a ticket, I can go enter a ticket. Once I end up selecting, I can now select the type of ticket, whether it's going to be a building code ticket or a local ordinance ticket or a parking type ticket. So everything is going to be laid out in the same type of quadrants. Search quadrants, property view, my details. So if I decided I wanted to search a ticket, once I get that information, and again, this could be anybody who the village designates as needing the access to the software. So you can search, you can set people up to be able to pay. People who have the rights to edit and change, they can do that. So basically, just you have your entry points, you have your building code, and your local ordinance entry screens. I'm not going to go through and spend a lot of time, entering in tickets or showing you all the entry part. I just wanted to show you some of the consistency in the look and the feel. Your mobile ticketing options. Your ability to be able to go pull up and print the notices, your ability to be able to check people into a docket, and have your hearing officer or whoever is assisting the hearing officer be able to update the cases one at a time when they're called. So I don't know, you can let me know if the village is also looking to do the permitting and the inspections and those type, or if that is still, when Anthony and I talked, he said that was still to be determined. So I don't know if you're looking for that type of software, but I won't go into further screens at this point because I don't want to start trying to demonstrate software for something you haven't clearly decided yet what you're going to do. But this particular slide will tell you what the property management side will be able to do as well, along with the ticketing. Okay. I think that covers what I wanted to just review today as far as the points of our systems. Are there any questions that anyone has?
Oh, yeah. Main question, price. Basic up to the, because I'm sure you got a lot of a la cartes, so the basic price to get just for the ticketing for, I guess it would be for building or permits, and then code, basically code, and for the police department.
Yeah, and I don't know if everyone has a copy of the proposals there or not. I did provide them. The software itself, the local ordinance and building code module, along with
Is it in this packet?
Yeah, the pricing will be in a separate document, and it'll be in the same document as the if you need one, I have extras.
Well, no, I didn't get that.
If the document will look.
Right. I'm just saying I didn't get that one, so. Okay, maybe something good. Okay.
So there is a page, second page from the end of this document, and has pricing for the ticketing and adjudication software. It's done as basically it's what they call software as a service. So you're paying a subscription for it. The license for the software without mobile is $850 a month. If you add the mobile ticketing to that, it is $200 a month. Total would be $1,050 for the license. There's a little bit of setup involved for the leads interface, and then that would be a 36-month agreement. Training is $2,500.
Is that for, you said, okay, for both places?
Yes. And the reason, we actually have three modules. We have one that's specific to parking, one that's specific to local ordinance, which local ordinance, I know a parking ticket's a local ordinance violation. But we typically say parking is vehicle related, local ordinance subject related, building code property related. The way you are running your parking tickets are just like a local ordinance violation. So you can run it through the local ordinance module. You don't need to have the parking specific module.
And upgrades?
All upgrades are included. Any enhancements, the only thing that wouldn't be included is if we wrote, like we did today, if we wrote a brand new solution from the ground up. We don't upgrade people when it's a brand new solution, but if you're on a platform, so you're on this platform right now, which is Core 360, all your enhancements, fixes, hosting is all included in the price. Ongoing support included in the price. So if you ever need anybody needs any help, they can call our office, and any support question is answered. That's all covered as well too.
And then well, I guess you call printers and things like that when you're talking about, is that, I'm sure there's an upgrade, number one.
For the printers?
Yeah, for the printers for the cars.
The printers aren't something that we provide. Municipalities can buy printers for less than what we can buy printers for. So you may have them in the squads already. I don't know that. But many of them.
Not printers. We do have computers, but not printers.
Not printers?
No.
Yeah, you would need printers, and you'd have to buy printers to put your vehicles. Like I said, many of the municipalities have printers in the squads. They're typically the Zebra 4-inch wide printers. If you don't,
Okay.
absolutely you need to allocate dollars for printers. Because that's where a lot of your savings are coming in. However, you wouldn't have to do local ticketing immediately if you didn't want to. I know often the building departments don't have printers in their vehicles. That's pretty common. What they would do is they could enter something in, they would come back to the office.
They come back and they
print
can
it,
download it.
mail it out. In fact, a lot of times they're not even posting violations on the buildings anymore because they're dealing with vacant properties. They don't even know sometimes is it the homeowner that still owns it or is now is their bank-owned property. But yeah, you would definitely have to protect the printers and we don't sell equipment.
And just my last question, now tickets that are moving violations, would you guys be that part, or does that go straight to our, that goes straight
That
to
still
market?
would go through whoever you're using for those right
Okay.
now. That the only part that we have to have some conversation about would be the leads interface. So we have a leads interface that can be directly with the state. But if you have a RMS or CAD system, when you're running that leads query and it creates a temp file on the hard drive, we can just parse that data out because we're already CGIS compliant. So the way the state classifies that is that once the municipality runs the query and it's on the laptop, it's actually your data, but you're not breaking any rules because we're already certified. We're FBI background check, we're CGIS compliant, so we can get the data directly from the state. But if you already run it through your CAD system or your RMS system that's on the hard drive, it's just sitting in what they call a temp file, and we can parse that data out directly to our system. So you enter a plate in a field in our system and you get leads query, it knows to go grab that data and populate the owner and the vehicle information. So your officers only have to put the offense, the location, and hit save.
So if a person decides that they don't want to go to the courthouse, they get paid through here,
Oh,
correct?
absolutely. Absolutely. But in fact, what happens is the system is set up so that there are a certain number of days for somebody to pay. So if somebody wants to pay their ticket, they can. If they don't, and that number of days passes, that's when the system is triggered to say, now the notices are ready to print. And I'll just say Nikki. At that point, Nikki can say, print all the notices for the next upcoming hearings. She can print them, stuff them, mail them, and send them out.
Just wanted to, because the last thing you stated was collection. I mean, I'm just interested to see what it is that you can implement that'll make people pay.
Well, yes, I'd love to be able to we can implement more things. The government's working against us, unfortunately. They've taken away credit reporting. You can no longer suspend for 10 or more parking tickets. You don't have red light violations in Sauk Village. Okay? They stopped taking the red light violations from the IOC. So there's a lot of things working against municipalities instead of working for municipalities. But so no, there is no real magic wand there, other than the ability for people to be able to pay online using a credit card. That might be more convenient for them. You also have payment plans within the system. So if for some reason you had a $200 ticket and someone said, well, I can't really pay that, well, we can set you up on a payment plan. Maybe, pay.
Is that done online? Is that done, are they talking to a person, or is that just explained to them and they try to pull that up online?
That would be something that you would need to explain to somebody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not something, I shouldn't say that. We have a new resident portal. The resident portal may end up getting some logic in there for people to set up payment plans. The same thing with collections. Collections, we do payment plans, but we don't have any artificial intelligence to set that up. Although we are implementing something right now so that people can actually fill in the payment plans. We will establish some guidelines to make that happen. So it's not going to be where it's going to go out for months and months and months. But.
And how long is your prices in effect? In other words, how much time do we have
To
make the decision whether, are these prices, how long are these prices?
we could keep these prices in place for you for the next 4 to 6 months.
Okay. All right, so anybody else have any questions? Trustee Grant?
So I see that you mentioned training here for $2,500. How much training is that? How many hours, or is that a few sessions?
Basically, what we do is we go back and look at all the installs that we've done, how much our typical amount of time is. So normally what that's going to be is going to be 10 hours per each one of those 2 modules. But it's a $2,500 flat fee. We don't care if it takes you 10 hours or if it takes you 15. We just want you to be up on successful results.
Okay. So in total, the $2,500 would be a one-time payment, and then $1,050 a month, or $1,050 a month rather,
Yes.
for a 3-year agreement,
Yes.
and that's it.
It'll keep going after that. The fee doesn't stop because it's software as a service, but we require a minimum of a 36 months agreement. Our agreement, the way it works, is it will automatically extend for 1 year at a time unless either one of the parties decides to cancel. But we do an additional term that's at least 36 months.
Okay.
So Trustee Williams?
That's it.
Trustee Williams?
We don't have,
What is you don't have a penalty if you cancel within the 36 months?
we don't have an option to be able to say I want to cancel sometime during the course of the 36 months.
So you're just in it for 36
You're in
months.
36 months.
Thank you.
Yeah, the only way around that is if you said, well, we'll pay you up front.
Oh,
Then if you decide you want to continue to use the software, because we don't, really when you think about it, we're the ones that have to put everything up with that particular plan.
Trustee Bell?
Now, will it divide off between homeowner and the renters? Because we have people that own 100 homes here in town,
Yeah.
and they have 100 renters. So the renters, the people who own the home won't be held accountable for the renters mishaps.
So you're talking about like a building code violation or?
Well, building code, I understand that, that'll be the landlord. But you know, like, you know, you're holding up for water payments, water bill payments, or parking violations, or whatever. That's, you know, like you just said, punching and addressing. All these things come up. That's not going to be held against the owner, that'll be held against the person. The landlord, the renter.
Yeah, subject-related violations are going to be against where that person is. Okay. So it's the same thing with holding to the parking ticket.
Right.
The parking ticket gets issued to a vehicle, but it's actually against the registered owner. So if it's against the tenant, that's what it's against.
Thank you.
You have a question?
Yeah, under property search. It's on, but I'll speak loud. Do you hear me? No. It's green. Can I borrow some? Okay. For property searches, for those vacant properties, can we identify those, you know, the historical, what's been happening on the property historically? You know, like if it's been vacant and what bank owns the property? Can we have that kind of information added to the module?
Yeah, so that is typically, now you're going to, with the ticketing module, you're still going to end up with a property database.
Right.
Because the property-related tickets are going to go against that. Within that property database, there are, you can keep track of owners, you can keep track of tenants, past tenants. If the owner of the property is no longer Dan McDonald, it's now Wintrust Bank, you would just change that and put that as your current owner of record. You can also keep track of, is it a rental property? Is the property vacant? If it was a rental property, when did it become a rental property? You do rental inspections. I mean, when you get into this particular part of the property management side, which is not the pricing we gave you was for the ticketing, but there is pricing in here for that. If you decide to extend that, yeah, there's a ton more information available to you from a property perspective.
So you're saying there's additional cost for the property maintenance?
For these modules, there is additional costs, and that's the ability to do contractor's license. So when I said on the property management side, we have a complete property database anyway because of the building code ticketing.
Okay.
Right, that's going to be a default. That's going to be your foundation. But in order to do these other pieces to keep track of, and you're going to have owners and tenants and potentially, you won't have management companies, but you'll have owners and tenants in the property database already, because that's just a piece of the building code part. But in order to do contractors' licenses, track their insurance and bond, issue and track permits, enter service requests, manage and schedule inspections, and issue business licenses, yes, there is additional dollars that's in that proposal. And there's more training involved in that, because that's really expanding the functionality of what you're doing.
How much would a business module cost?
Business license?
Yeah, business license.
The business license is actually included in all that part. We don't really break it out. So the way I have it, if you're interested in knowing the pricing of that piece is $1,350 a month. And basically the same thing applies, although what we have listed here, if the village decides, so the total for everything is $2,400 a month. If the village decided to go forward, we said we provide a $500 discount per month. So a $6,000 discount, it would be $1,900 a month. And we would get the ticketing contract, we'd have everything. Yeah.
So that means we would be entering the data, or you guys would get the data.
The data would be imported in at the very beginning from a property perspective, and there might be some other parts, like maybe your offenses. What we want to get is either from the county or from a water billing system, a file that matches our format, and if you can get that, then we can push that property database in. We don't want you to build a property database. That's a lot of work. So once we get the property database in, maybe from the county or township, it'll have, hopefully, as best as we have as current owners. That's your big starting point. Yeah, you have that data would be imported to start with.
Any other?
$1,900 a month for all of it. But then I'm looking up here for that core 360, that the training hours would be 64 to 80 hours, and that's $8,000 to $10,000.
Yes, that's correct. It's the 2,500 for the ticketing, and then it's the actual pricing for the training on all these modules, which is more extensive.
Okay, thanks.
Any other question? Yeah, I'm looking over your, I don't see anything here that would even constitute anything of a contract, so I'm sure that,
I can get a copy of a contract over
Okay.
to whoever you want me to send that to.
Okay.
Because I'm sure you want me to look at that.
yes, that was gonna be my next question. Okay, yes, if you could get us that, and then, you did say 2,400, that includes everything you talked about?
Yes. Yeah, what I said was,
Yeah.
it was 2,400 a month.
A month
It was
includes
everything you said.
Everything.
And then we discount that down by $500, so it's actually
$1,900 a
That's
month, and
correct.
that includes everything you talked about.
That's correct. I mean, not the training, but
Well-
that's, yes, the subscription fee is $1,900 a month.
Okay, and that, okay.
Yeah, it's the, because the training's an unknown. We don't know how much training it's gonna really take. There's a project manager who's gonna work with whoever your designated person is, and they help keep this project on track, but there's a lot of people who are gonna be learning the software. You have the police department, you have potentially village hall personnel, you have building department, so there's a lot of people involved.
And as far as, being able to get a hold of you guys, like you 24/7 or?
No, we're normal business hours, we're 8 to 5 days a week. So, it's just normal support hours for us all.
Is there a cost for someone to come out in case we have a problem?
Oh, yeah, that's not a problem. We can do training either over the web or if you.
No, I mean, not training, I mean, we have a problem with the system.
I'm sorry?
If we have a problem with the system, is there a cost to having a person to come out and do that, or is that included in that?
Yes, it is. If that were the case, in today's technology, because it's a hosted system, most likely anything that might happen would be at a server that's in our hosting facility. We would work with the hosting facility to get that corrected for you. It's typically not something that happens here, although if it was something we needed to be here, we could certainly do that. And we're located in Palos Heights. It's not like we're flying in from Austin, Texas.
Any other questions?
Okay, so you're saying you work the normal hours, Monday through Friday, but we have an issue on, say, Sunday. Who do you contact?
There's
Nobody?
nobody to contact.
Okay,
Right.
thanks.
Yeah, we don't have 24-hour support.
And I looked at I guess this is your resume or some different, are these references currently you working with them or you just references? Your customer references, are they?
These are all current customers
Oh, okay.
of ours right now.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
and that's just a partial list.
okay. Yeah.
I just want to know that, is that per person or is that a group? How many?
What is what per person?
Training is 2,400.
3110.
The training is $2,500 for the ticketing. That's for whoever we need to train, and then for the building department software, I think it's $75. But the point being is that we don't care if it's 1 or 15. In fact, we know it's going to be multiple people.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
Okay. Alrighty, and I think that's all we have to read. Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Williams.
Is it possible to start with the administrative adjudication and then add on core property management later? Or do we have to make a decision at the beginning to do both?
If we did both at the same time, we basically bundled the pricing. Not to say I couldn't do something, but I don't know if I would do $500 a month. You said, well, we're not going to do it for another year.
Any other questions? Okay, sir, thank you, Mr. McDowell. We will be in touch with you.
All right. Thank you.
You entered access code 523110.
Next person is Mr. Holden. Do you need the microphone? Okay.
Is staying here okay, or do you want?
Now you come up, you be comfortable. You may be a little bit more comfortable sitting down.
Here,
We can cut this.
can I close this? Or is that-
Yes, that's what I was going to ask. Can we cut this, close that, and then cut part of it off? That's good. I guess you didn't.
You entered access code 523110.
Okay, yes. All right, you here to talk to us about public buildings in distressed communities?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you may want to come a little closer. That's gonna happen all night until you, I would just take it off and hold it. You can pull it straight up. There you go.
Is this better?
Hey,
Good evening. I'm Ken Holden. I'm with Green Home Experts. We're a third party. And I've been asked by ComEd to come out to talk to communities that are in distressed communities, such as Sauk Village. And the
Hold on
reason,
just one second. Could you please, just for my edification, describe what distress means? What do you consider distress? That's what I'm trying.
I don't have a definition for that. ComEd does. And I'm going off of their instructions for me to go out. They've given me a list of communities to talk to, and Sauk Village is on that list.
Okay, I just trying to get that definition, because my definition and what ComEd has may be two different things, because I consider this to be a thriving community, not distressed, but okay.
And I would probably agree with you. This is a
Okay.
beautiful community.
Okay.
But you are on the list. And,
Okay.
and Sauk Village is eligible for free LED lights. And the reason that they are doing this is so that Sauk Village can receive 75% less cost in energy. The LED bulbs traditionally last a lot longer, so you have less maintenance cost by taking the old bulbs out, putting the new bulbs in, and they usually last between 5 and 7 years.
You entered access code 52.
So the buildings that I have down that would qualify in Sauk Village would be the Village Hall, the police and fire stations, the community center, the library, the 3 schools, and 168 school district building.
Yeah.
Okay. And what needs to be done on page 3, there is an application. This has got to be filled out for each building that Sauk Village would like to have ComEd evaluate. And the hardest part on here is the ComEd account number. So that may take a couple minutes to use the bill and put that on there. All right, so once the application is filled out and I receive it, I work with ComEd and they'll come out and do a on-site tour, or they'll do a virtual tour. And what they would do, if we just look up, they would come in here and they would say, okay, there is 8 light fixtures in the middle. Each one of these has a bulb, 32 bulbs, and they would mark that down. And then they would go back and they would put together a program saying, Sauk Village, you have if you go with this light program, you can save X amount of dollars, you can save X amount of money off of your electric bill on a monthly basis. Do you like this? Do you want this? You agree to that, you sign off on it. They will order the light bulbs, they'll deliver them to you, and then Sauk Village has 30 days in which to install them. I'm working with several other communities, and they told me that they could not do all of their buildings within the 30 days. And so what we would do is stagger the buildings out. So let's say the village hall would get it 1 month, the police and fire station another month, so that your maintenance people can install those bulbs. Installation is up to you, whether you have internal people or if you want to go to a third party to install those.
Okay.
Then once they're installed, you notify me, and then we would come out and do either a physical inspection or a virtual inspection and take a look at the bulbs and say, yes, you installed them, and at that point, they're all free.
Okay, they're free after you did the inspection. Is there a cost before we get a refund, or we just get the book?
You are not charged until we sign off on it. So once we deliver them, you would have 30 days to install them. On that second inspection, if you installed them, there is no cost to you, and there was no cost to you up front anyway. But if you did not install them, then we would charge you for those bulbs.
Now, do these include bulbs inside the buildings? What about outside of the building?
They include inside as well as outside. Typically, they're the 4-foot, 8-foot bulbs, fluorescent, that ComEd has wanted to change over, so they can show the greatest amount of savings both to you as well as to ComEd people.
Because because we would have to definitely work out a schedule with our current people that would do that, and they would have to, especially in this building, would take a while.
Understand.
And, so you're giving us just a month, but you're saying that we can also ask for an extension.
Yes. We would work with you, just, working in good faith.
Now, the other buildings that you talked about are other different taxing bodies, so that would be their own contract, correct? The other buildings, McConaughey Library, Wagner, Strawford, Rico, School District 168, that's a different taxing body than this one, so they would be doing their own agreement, or?
What this contract is for is all public buildings, regardless of who the taxing body
So
would
what
be
happens
for.
if one of the public buildings is not able to do theirs? They would get charged, or the village would get charged?
The building would be charged, or whoever signed that contract would be responsible for that.
Okay. So that's what I'm saying, they're separate, and then they would have to sign their own contract.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Grant?
So, to clarify, for example, these 8 lights will qualify, right?
Correct.
But what about each individual bulb? That's, we have all around the individual bulbs, it could be 100 bulbs, right? Do all of those qualify?
That would be determined by ComEd, and they are engineering people.
Okay. And then, so you also mentioned outside as well. So does that mean outside attached to the building? Because we have lights in our parking lot that's on public grounds, public building. So does that count as well, or is it just lights for the building? For example, a spotlight or like a side light on the side door or something.
It would be all of the lights inside and outside attached to the grounds itself.
Okay. That's it.
Trustee Todd?
I think it's a great program, but what I'm looking at is it says these LEDs last about 5 to 7 years. What happens when they burn out? What would be the cost to replace them? Or is ComEd going to give us more free bulbs?
I can't tell you that. My crystal ball is not that clear, but at this point, it would be your responsibility. It just to get you going and get you to change over to LED.
Right, and I think what we need to look at is what's the cost of the LEDs, because they're not cheap. So that's why I'm asking.
You know what the savings is between the old bulbs and the new bulbs?
Comparatively, if we look around at other communities that have done this, they're showing a savings of about $500 a year to make that changeover in just savings for the bulbs themselves, or the electricity themselves. And currently, so many people are changing over to LED, there has been a drastic reduction in cost to those. Now, the company that I work for is Green Home Experts. What we do is, when we're selling the bulbs, ComEd has rebates on those. When we sell them, we take that off and we charge ComEd for them. As an example, Zion was getting a quotes for their outside LED lights, and they were coming up with $300 a bulb. We got that cost down to $40 a bulb after the rebates, because ComEd had so much incentives on those. Programs that other communities have taken advantage of on this is the Maywood Fire, Calumet City, the Dalton Park District, Fort Heights, Joliet Police and Fire, Dixmoor, Zion, and Burnham Fire Department. So many communities around here.
All right, is there a deadline for this application process?
Yes, that is the end of 21, December 21.
Okay, end of next year.
Correct. Currently, ComEd has run out of funds up to the third quarter. They've started the fourth quarter, which is October 1. On that list, we have, I think, over 200 people on the list. If you fill out the application and send it to me, we do the site inspection, we do everything that we need to do, and then when ComEd comes to you on the list, and that's when you would be able to get those bulbs. So wherever you are in that list. So if you were to do that tonight, let's say you're 200 on the list, you may get the bulbs December, January, February. I don't know. It would just be up to ComEd as they work through their budget.
And I'm looking here on, you have other items too. Are they offered also, is that separate, HVAC?
The HVAC is something that I don't deal with. That would be something that you would deal directly with ComEd. I just deal with the bulb side.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Williams.
Thank you. First thing is, I would feel very uncomfortable in even discussing anything that's going to happen at the library or the school district. I think that that's something they should have a separate presentation at the school board meeting and the library board meeting. Why
Yes,
would we?
that's why I asked him.
You will be, but you will be going to present at the school board and the library board.
I will do whatever I need to do
Because I
for the
wouldn't want to
city.
be involved in anything that they do.
Understand?
And second of all, we went to LED lighting on the outside for our street lights, and a lot of people are saying that it's too dim. So I'm kind of concerned. I know LED is the way that we're going with the energy, but our LED lighting outside in a lot of areas, they're saying it's not bright enough. Would we be able to see what type of lighting you're going to be offering?
I don't have any samples of that, but I do know there's different light tones. Some are very red, and some are a lot dimmer than you have daylight. So I don't know what selection that the street lights went, but we do have a variety of different ones. There's not just one, like the old incandescent light bulb, where there was just one choice.
Right.
We have many choices.
Mr. Mayor, can we ask the...
Before we go any further, because that was a good question, our Public Works Director is here, Kevin. Are there any lights in here right now that are LED?
We do have some smaller lights on the outside of the building right now, it seems like. These are all, that's why I have a question on. We have T5s in here right now. Is there any issues with the T8s, T12s? Is there any issue with the ballast turning those over?
We would have to have the site engineer make that determination for that,
And the question would be is if we have an 8-year,
and that would be determined by the ComEd engineer to determine what ballast with what bulbs. When they do their site inspection, they would be looking at the bulbs, they would be looking at the ballasts.
do you have ballast replacement included with that?
We do not.
Do you know if ComEd has that? I did see something in one of their sites for the incentive program with the HVAC. It also had ballasts in there at one time with lighting kits.
I can't speak to that, I'm not sure.
Compact fluorescence, are we just dealing with 4-footers or will you have compacts too?
It would be, my understanding is there would be the 4-foot and the 8-foot LED lights at this time. No 2-footers.
Okay.
Okay, Trustee Grant?
A question for Kevin. So, worst case scenario, if we do have to replace every single bulb in Village Hall, the police or fire station or community center, it's something that you and your department can do in 30 days?
Building by building, I don't think there would be a problem. If we had to do it all at one time, for sure that would be an issue. This building alone probably has several hundred bulbs just on the 4-footers alone, because most of these fixtures have double bulbs in them. They're stacked. And the question also, you did spell out some village buildings here. Our Public Works building, is that eligible? And is our Water Department's building eligible?
I did not see those buildings, and they are eligible.
They are?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
We've done that for Fort Heights. We've done all of their buildings, and they were all applicable.
Okay. All right, well then, we'll put that under, that's a great thing, because I mean, I know that some people were saying that LED, I've been inside of places with LEDs and they seem bright. But that being said, that's inside. Outside, we do have some LEDs in the village, and some of them seem to me as being brighter, but some, that's my eyes. But as far as this would probably be, basically you're talking about mostly inside and a few outside. So that's something that we would discuss as a board. But you say we have until, but I'm gonna try to see, we'll have to have one more discussion so we can go forward. Is there any contract that we have to sign?
Yes, that would be page 3. That is the first contract that just says that ComEd can come out and inspect your buildings. After that, we would give you what you're eligible for. That would be free.
I must have get page 3.
The public buildings, the application, page 3.
Okay. The application, that's the contract you're talking about?
All that does is just allows us to come out and inspect your buildings.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Kevin?
If we fill out this contract and we find out all this, are we on the line for any money if we decide not to go with the program?
You are not.
Anybody else have any questions? All right, sir. I really appreciate you coming and letting us know. We'll be getting back with you very soon because it's something that will save money and also brighten things up.
I hope so. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay. Next item of discussions, financial update, forensic audit, 2018-19, and other financial records. Trustee Williams.
Mr. Mayor,
I may be able to answer for some updates. I know Trustee Williams had asked for it to be on there so we could give her the updates on the audit. I know Anthony's in the back, but I've talked to Michelle, I've talked to Sikich, and I've talked to Miller Cooper. So for the updates, Sikich is doing the forensic audit, are very happy with the way we're progressing. They're missing a couple of items, and they think that they'll be done and ready to move on with their audit. There's 2 small issues, one with some vehicles that they need to purchase and some other bank statements. Miller Cooper, we've told them they're about 6 weeks out before they'll have everything they need. and then they can start their audit. So both are moving forward, both are progressing very well, and they're getting the information they need to the auditors, and they'll be moving forward.
Okay.
They came from the finance director.
May I ask a question? On October the 6th, we had Sickage on the agenda to come to give an update, and they were not able to make it. Will we be inviting them back?
I'm not sure who invited Stickets to come out. He didn't know he was on the agenda. So I'm not sure who invited him to come out.
Mr. Finch did.
I'm not sure, but if you want Mr. Stickich to come on, it's not Mr. Stickich, Jim from Stickich. If you want him to come out, yes, he will be glad to come out. But at this point, I don't think it's necessary. I think I thought the board wanted just an update from finance.
Mr.
Trustee Williams? Just a second, Mr. Finch. Trustee Williams, what you got?
Yes, I know I asked for financial updates on the last agenda, and the only thing I saw on the agenda was sickage. So I don't know what happened at that point, why that was what was on there. So, but what I would like to see for the next board meetings moving forward is get a financial update every 2 weeks. Where are we with our audits? And as Trustee Grant was saying, we need to start evaluating where we are in our budgets more often than what we've been doing. So that's what I would like to see. And the other question is, I just don't understand why we can't provide bank statements. You would think that that's something that's either in a file cabinet, on a computer, or easily attainable from a bank. So if that's something that's holding up the audits, I just don't understand why.
On a good note, they have almost everything they need and they're moving forward. And that's positive.
Mr. Finch, yes, something to add?
I had asked for Sickage to be on the agenda probably about a month ago.
Mr. Finch, I can't hear you now.
I asked for Sickage to be on the agenda probably about a month ago because the body wanted to, and the residents wanted to know what was going on with it. However, for whatever reason, when I tried to get them on the agenda, it was pushed off the agenda. The last agenda, I never got a phone number to have them call in. Unfortunately, sickers get calls a lot by members of the body to find out what's going on with it. So it's almost beating the same drum over and over when part of the body has information, part of the body does not have the information. So the idea was to have sickers speak for themselves, because I know there have been some issues, concerns that I personally have stopped the audit and whatnot. With regards to the bank statement, I don't know how many times I have to explain. I wish you all could actually spend a day with the finance department. There's a ton of work. The 2017 bank statements are all stapled together. It takes individuals time to go through 30 bank statements and make copies. As of this week, we have reached out to 3 of the banks and asked them for bank statements. First National Bank, I can forward an email, said it would take them 2 weeks to get us copies. So think about that. If it takes the bank 2 weeks to get copies of their own material, how long is it going to take us to get copies of our material that we made from their bank? So it is a patient thing. I've said it when I first started the audit. It's not going to be done in 2 or 3 months. So I know there's a big rush. Kind of understand why there's a big rush, but there's things that has to be done. Unfortunately, the new finance director, because I'm about to wean my way out of here, is trying to grasp every single thing in the finance department. And I said it last year, it is a monster, it's a big elephant, and I don't think no one understands the magnitude of what it takes to run the finance department, whether she's dealing with residents and water bill to try to get water cut off, which brings in revenue, whether she's dealing with invoices that's coming in that have outrageous charges that she's analyzing. It's a lot. Now, if you guys would like her to exclusively, every day, focus on strictly the audit, that's fine. But then if you can, don't ask why other things fall behind. Because it's more than a notion to just running a finance department. It's just not like getting in a police car and you drive to the scene and you do what you gotta do and it's over. It's an ongoing process. So as long as Sickich and Miller Cooper feeling like we're moving forward, I think that should be suffice. That's why I wanted them to speak, so that they can answer any questions about any delays or anything that may be hampering them to move forward. So that's my comment.
Thank you. Trustee Williams.
I really do appreciate that explanation because I think that's the first time I heard it quite that way. But now it makes sense, okay? So there's statements in-house that are all stapled together, and it's an issue with getting them in order. And yes. I know that more than one trustee has stated we are available to help if needed. Okay, I'd be more than happy to help the finance department do whatever they need to get straight. And I know more than one trustee has made that same offer. And we're here, and I will go to Michelle myself and offer directly to her that whatever we can do to help. I didn't know that they were actually in-house stapled together and that was an issue. But since that's the issue, then we'll see what we can do to give her some help.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. That's it? Okay, next item is EMFT funds for infrastructure repair. Trustee Brewer?
Test.
The mic up there seemed like it was working. Is that the new one? If that's the brand new one, it has to be synced.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to have a discussion on the allocation from the MFT funds. We talked to the finance director and also Mr. Finch, and also I called the state. And as I understand it, we have $100,000 that's going to be that can come from allotted from the MFT funds that can be used for restorations of the fire hydrant once they are installed and move forward. So the emphasis that I want to put on this $100,000 that we can use for the restoration is that this project cannot be done until, well, the fire hydrants are finished, and most likely not until March or April when the weather changes. But I would like to have this money set aside, because as we know, we see some money there, and it generally is not there in a long time. But we have $100,000 that we can use for MFT funds for restorations, and this money should be kept in a separate line items and deemed restricted, so we could use it just specifically for fire hydrants, restoration of fire hydrants as they come in and we do them. So I'd like to open up a discussion for that.
When you say you want to open up a discussion, what do you mean?
Well, I just told you why we got $100,000 and to use for restoration, and we would like to use it just for that particular purpose.
No, you said you want to open up discussion. What kind of discussion are you talking about?
Any trustees have any?
You said you wanted to set aside this amount of money.
Well, yeah, if the trustees want to talk about that, and I gave them the options, why are we talking about this particular item, and if they have anything to say about it, that's, I'd like to hear.
I have a question.
Trustee Grant.
So, you said we have $100,000.
Yes, from the MFT funds.
Okay. But we give MFT money every month, so
yeah.
This $100,000, did we just get it just because? Like, what did we get it for?
What did we give it for?
Yeah, did it just become for, is it just $100,000 that we got because the state was giving us extra money? Is it just $100,000 we got because it's going to be used for something specific? Where did the $100,000 come from?
The $100,000 came from the MFT fund. If you look on your last cash balance, I think it's, we have like $559,000 or something. So we, after discussions with the finance director and Mr. Finch, he told us that we could use the $100,000 for infrastructure.
So when you say infrastructure, you want to use specifically for fire hydrants?
Right. What I want to use the $100,000 for is restoration of the fire hydrants. As you know, when you get these fire hydrants in, they always leave a gaping hole in the, wherever you put them, and it looks bad. So instead of just leaving those holes open all through the village and stuff, you could use that money to fill in those, fire hydrants in the area.
So you want to put some dirt around the fire hydrant?
Well, yeah, basically, yeah, gravel, whatever is needed, so it won't look so bad. You're talking cosmetics.
So, and just one more, go ahead, man.
No, I was going to ask, I think you may be confusing. Are you in reference to the I think it's $38,000 or $40,000 that's from the CN fund?
I said MFT fund, $100,000 from the MFT fund.
I thought the money from the CN fund was
that has nothing to do
allocated for the fire hydrants. Okay.
That has nothing to do with.
So I just want to finish my comment.
Go ahead, Trustee.
So also, you mentioned you want to put it aside. Well, the MFT fund is already reserved. It's restricted rather. You can't just go in there and grab something out. It's set up like that already. But also, can we use MFT funds for infrastructure repairs? Because I know that the purpose of MFT funds is to kind of, I know we use it every year for Public Works, to kind of use a portion of it to kind of do the streets or whatever the case may be. But can we use that for fire hydrants specifically? I don't think so. Well, at least I didn't think so.
That's what I was asking. That's why I asked the question, because usually MFT funds are used for road repair issues, because there's motor fuel tax.
Right.
Now you're going to use it for fire hydrants. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not, one to answer that one. That's why I thought the CN fund was actually used for that, and it was allocated because we asked, or they went and asked CN, could we use that money that was set in there that was left over? Could we use that? And they said yes, we can use it for fire hydrants.
Mr. Mayor,
I'm not sure if we can. Before we use it, I'm going to make sure that we are doing it correctly.
Mr. Mayor, let me clarify that the CN. Okay, I'm sorry. The CN fund is an entirely different pot of money. We're talking about $100,000 from the MFT fund that we talked, the finance director and also the village administrator and Mr. Finch, and said these funds are available for restoration. So, and also I called the state, and we can use those funds for restoration. Now the $100,000, as I keep saying, is an entirely different fund, MFT funds. We have a balance of like $550,000 in there already, and we're going to use it. As you know, every month we get 20 or 30,000 every month. So the monies will be adding up. So when March or April comes around and it's time to do those, and we finish those fire hydrants and stuff, the money will be there to do the restoration of the fire hydrants. We just don't want to leave those fire hydrants out there and they still look like that in the village. You can see right now they do a lot of fire hydrant work and they haven't been able to finish up the work around the fire hydrants. So what I propose is that you take the $100,000, set it aside for restorations once we put these fire hydrants in.
And I guess one more thing I was going to add. Did you talk with Kevin or with the gym to see does that money, because I know they allocate a certain portion every year for MFT funds for certain expenses. They might have had plans for that money, but I don't know if Kevin wants to speak on that or not.
Well, I'm going to tell you what I know and then Kevin can speak on it. Now, I talked to Kevin. He's also included in the discussions, and we have that money available. And we talked to Mr. Finch and the finance director, like I said, and also the village administrator. So the money is there, and the money that we're going to get each month will add up. And then when March and April, when it's time to do these restorations, the money will be there to take care of it.
So I would ask Kevin, I'm sorry, I'm not saying, ask Kevin, like, in your opinion, do you think we should use $100,000 to put dirt around a fire hydrant? I think that money could be used something way more efficient and better, but I want to hear from you.
Well, MFT fund is a restricted fund prepared the year before. Our day labor funding roughly is $100,000 a year, which is maintenance, street repairs, signage, pothole patching, miscellaneous stuff of that nature. The other money is put aside usually for street projects that we prepare the year before. We also wait for the CDBG program and hopefully get both of those programs together to do street work. Again, asking the engineers exactly what we can allocate that money for. Restorations, questionable about fire hydrants, they would have to have specifics on that, and I would refer to ask for the engineers to clarify that at this point before we go any further.
Okay. Trustee Sauk?
I know earlier, in the last several months, you've talked about the $100,000 to do fire hydrants. Okay, so I take it that's in the budget. So this is something entirely different that you're talking about, this MFT.
Yes, the $100,000 is taken from the water fund, that's for the fire hydrants. And we have $144,000 that's actually coming from the CN fund. And then we're talking about the $100,000 now for the restoration. And I did talk to Jim Robinson about this, and they're okay with it. So we have, in fact, we got $344,000 that we actually could do something for residents. $100,000 for fire hydrants, $144 from the CN, and I think you call it infrastructure something. And then we have $100,000 MFT funds that we're talking about today. That's $344,000.
Well, I know with the CN fund, we know that that was going to be used for public safety, so whatever you're going to use it for. If you want to repair sidewalks, if you want to, for public safety. But with this MFT, and it's being a restricted fund, I think we really need to clarify what we can use it for, and not just go ahead and use it. You're saying they're saying restoration. I think we really need to clarify if we can really use that $100,000 for that.
Well, if you want clarity on it, I'll get Robinson Engineering, the village administrator, the finance director, and Mr. Finch, all to write in something saying the money could use for $100,000, just to make everybody comfortable. But the money's there, and and it probably won't be used until March or April next year, but we like to put it aside so that the money won't just, let's say, our funds are just used up. And we don't want to use that. We want to make sure the money is there when we get ready to do the fire hydrants and the restoration.
Mr. Finch, they took your mic again, so.
I think with what Trustee Brewer is saying regarding to the MFT fund, it is restricted. It is for certain eligible expenses, and even there's a point in time that you give a expense report to IDOC to let you know let them know what you plan on spending for the MFT funds, especially when they get ready to do the audit. But what I think is more important is we're talking about numbers, but we don't want to have a plan on how we're going to spend it. So even if the $100,000 that we're going to get out the water fund, the MFT, in theory, would be like the third phase of it. So even if it does get approved, it won't happen until the $100,000 from the water fund is spent, the $100,000 from CN Railroad Fund is spent, and then you get to the third phase, which is $100,000 or so from the MFT fund. So what I'm suggesting is, we do a project management of what we're going to spend $100,000 on, instead of being so vague and just say fire hydrant. I know we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. And then, so that take care of one bucket of $100,000. What we're going to spend $142,000 on in the CN fund, instead of being so vague and just say safety. What does that really mean? And then you can, if we start doing that, we might not even get to the point where we need the $100,000 out of MFT fund if it's eligible, because in reality, we'll be back into a whole new fiscal year, which we might have different kind of grant monies or whatever else might be eligible. So I'm in agreement with Trustee Brewer. If we use the MFT funds, that money, if it's eligible, but before we get to that phase 3, we got to start with phase 1 and 2, and that's what I think we should do first. Just put together a plan of action, and then because once the fire hydrants get fixed, they may, Trustee Brewer, go ahead and do the landscaping as they prepare. If not, then that's a conversation you and Mr. Willer can have us to make it look nice once one is fixed, and use the same bucket of money from the 100,000 from the 100,000 in the water fund or the 142,000 in the CN railroad fund, and then worry about the MFT fund later.
Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was doing minutes today and for October the 6th, and on October the 6th, we kept throwing around the amount of monies that's being provided by CN. And now tonight, and I thought I had my head wrapped around it. Now tonight, I hear one person say that the CN funds will net 144,000, and then another 142. And so if someone could just clarify for me for certain, is it 144 or 142?
I don't know exactly, but it's on the cash report that I provided last Tuesday. But it's 140 something. So I don't know exactly, so I can find out tomorrow.
That's very easy. We can do that. That's not easy. That's not very.
Right. I just need. I would like for the minutes to reflect the actual.
But the whole 142 is not allocated for fire hydrants.
Correct. From my understanding, 142 was really for trees more so than anything, and maybe for fire hydrants. So that's a come. I think that for history's sake, we need to be concise and consistent. And I think if you have the plan that you're talking about, it will be readily laid out there so that then we are using consistent language.
Okay. All right. Okay, I guess we're going to go into fire hydrants. Is the next one, Trustee Grant? Well, this one, all she's asking is to have the money put aside.
No, you know what I'll do, Mr. Mayor, is we'll write up a plan, step 1, 2, and 3, and we'll come up with the exact figures, because this is roundabout whenever somebody talk about finance, and then we'll know what steps to be taken, and you know how much money is spent, and then we could go with it from there.
Okay. All right, so you're going to have, I guess, step by step. And are you going to include all the 3 monies, or is it
The 3 pots of money, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, everybody will be on the same page.
Okay.
We won't know those amounts until we get bids back. So
Well,
Right.
quite naturally,
Yeah.
anything like that, you're going to get bids anyway. So,
we'll have no idea.
I mean, because if
Right.
the bids are more, then you may not do all 3. You may only be able to do 2.
Well, because we can only address what we actually got in the budget, you know, or whatever. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you. Next one is Mr. Hershey. This is for, and I think that's what Kevin was here, and then Trustee Grant, fire hydrants. I guess this is this the proposal that we're talking about?
No, sir.
Oh,
This
okay.
is the second phase.
Do you need another cover? Here's some covers right here.
Thank you, though, I'm good, that's okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I sent an email out last week because of a lot of conversations, a lot of calls in regards to fire hydrants. And we talked with Trustee Brewer about going out for bid on the fire hydrants, and we're moving forward on that. We should have that bid going out next week, once we okay it from Robinson Engineering. But talking with our Public Works Director and trying to come up with a different idea of what we can move forward, I discussed with them our public works employees, hopefully wanting to work overtime, try to get additional fire hydrants done, so it would be a two-phase program. One would be the private contract that we would have go out with those 3 pots of money, and this would be additional monies spent to get additional fire hydrants done. We've talked to the mayor, and the public works department has talked to the mayor in regards to the north side of town and the south side of town, where they have a better handle on certain hydrants compared to where other hydrants are at. So what we've discussed and what I wanted to bring in front of you was the possibility of spending additional water money in regards to getting some additional hydrants done, in conjunction with going out for the bid with the private company doing other fire hydrants. So talking to Public Works Director, we're looking at about salaries for a overtime employees. We need 4 employees per fire hydrant. That was the total I was told. Working on a Saturday, our guys make an average of about $30 an hour, some a little higher, some a little lower. So I went to the $45, multiplied it by 8, multiplied it by 4 members. That came to about $1,500 a Saturday. And then we have to add in equipment. That means the hydrants, the pipes, the valves, because what happens when we go down to change a hydrant, and we talked about this ad nauseum, I'm sorry to repeat it, is once we open up that ground, it makes a lot more sense for this village to change the valves in the hydrants. If most of them are broken anyway, but while we're down there and it's open, to change the valves. So depending on where the valve is at, where we have to open up the ground, it just makes a lot more sense for us to do that work while it's open and while we're working on the hydrant. So those costs all included came to about $2,500 to $3,000 per hydrant. I'm sorry, per Saturday. We can only get 1 hydrant done per Saturday. So $1,500 for salaries, $1,000 for equipment. That came to $2,500. I went between $2,500 and $3,000. That's what I did per hydrant. If we did an additional 10 hydrants, that would cost us $30,000. So, I'm sorry, if we worked 10 Saturdays, that would get us an additional $30,000. Talking to the Public Works Director, trying to get guys working, trying to get guys to work on Saturday, trying to get guys who have different programs going on in their lives. It's not going to be a simple task, but they're willing to do some of that work. That was just something that we had come up with to get more boots on the ground to get these fire hydrants fixed. I know it's important to the board, I know it's important to residents, and this was just a concept that we came with. Trustee Grant had come up with a different proposal that he submitted on the 18th of September to me, and I had forwarded that on to the union, where it asked us, his suggestion was having 2 people work on the hydrants and hire 2 additional people outside at a lower cost. And I haven't got word back from the union yet on that. I've asked for it in writing, but what I've gotten back from them, they weren't the most energetic about it. But I'm waiting for an answer back in writing. So I had our Public Works Director here to discuss some of the numbers, discuss some of the hydrants, to talk about what we should be doing or what we can do, and answer any of the questions that you have about this proposal. I understand, I don't know how much our fire hydrants are going to cost us in the proposal that we're putting out for the private company.
We don't know.
But we kind of know what it would cost us to have 4 employees work on Saturdays to get these fire hydrants done. And my job is get these fire hydrants fixed.
Is this an 8-hour day?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. 8 times 432 times 45 comes to 50. 1440, I think is the exact amount. I rounded up to 1,500.
Now, we do understand that if the weather's inclement, you know, if it's
there's all kinds of developments coming out there.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor, I understand that.
One thing that it's going to be 10 weeks.
Human nature being what it is, now besides the weather, besides these employees having lives of their own and having families that they need to deal with, and Thanksgiving coming up and Christmas coming up. But it is a proposal. It's something that to get these hydrants fixed. And I just think we wanted to put something together to move forward on it. I think it's important. I think it's an important issue for the village. I know it's an important issue for the board. And this is something I thought we could do to get them to work overtime and get some additional hydrants done on a parallel level, working with the outside contractor and our guy working at the same time.
And I think Kevin's going to also explain.
I'll give the mic to Kevin if you have any questions.
He's going to explain some things about the trees too, because we talked about that too.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you have a question?
I have a question about the hydrants. So back to the hydrants. Can you help me understand why 4 guys are needed to do hydrant?
That we have to Kevin. Kevin has to tell you that question.
Well, I think the information might be a little off, but it usually takes 4 to 5, depending on the hydrant. If we're working in a concrete or a pre-dug area, we have worries about the cave-ins, and we have worry about the hole size when we deal with that. So that's why the amount of personnel on a hydrant. It's more than just, we don't have the ability just to dig down to the T, take some bolts off, and bolt a new hydrant on. The existing system we have on the north side, which is the worst side of town, for easy replacement, is we have transite water main. The water mains are pushed in points or collared points, so they're all lugged in. And in order to do a replacement of a fire hydrant on the north side, you actually have to remove the existing T, and you have to put a steel T in there. And then you have to use other clamping devices to attach the hydrant and the rest of the parts to the existing water main. So it's a little more involved than just digging down to the bottom of the hydrant, taking some bolts off, and putting a brand new hydrant on. If we had that ability, yes, we could put several in a very quick time.
So you're saying there could be 5 guys, could be, and then you can only fix 1 hydrant a Saturday, so 4 a month.
That would be probably more likely, yes.
So how many do you think that you can possibly do before the end of the year, before it gets super cold outside?
Pending weather conditions or any other events, we do have programs that we have to deal with, already existing programs. Towards the end of last year, we had a project set up over in Prairie on the south side of town. We had it up for 4 fire hydrants and 4 main valve replacements. And that would have took roughly, if we could stay on it for a week, we could have had it done in a week, because they're all within close conjunction of each other. As we replace the fire hydrant has a main valve, which would be replaced automatically. It's attached to the hydrant already. And right down, further down the street, maybe another 15, 20 feet, which is usually on the corner, closest to the hydrant, there's a main shut-off valve, which is what we need to fix in Sauk Village in order to fix all of the, whether it's pipe or more valves or hydrants. We would dig the hole to repair both of those things. So we'd actually get 4 main valves in, plus 4 fire hydrants, which would already have their main new valves attached to those. So we could shut off a hydrant in an accident situation. So if we could stay on it for a solid week, we could do that all pretty quickly.
So I think how many hydrants right now do we have that are inoperable and not working?
The last list we had put together, I think it was 54 that are inoperable, and then the rest that we have that are in condition, I would say, are operating nuts that have been taken off the top of them, which still is accessible, can be turned still on. It's eating up the top of the brass is what it's doing. Unfortunately, we have some vandalism going on, and they're stealing the top of the operating nut off the hydrant. So those are easy enough to fix, but they're all operable.
So right now, is fixing hydrants a part of your weekly, daily schedule? Because I mean, I just don't understand the for 8 hours a day for 4 guys for overtime to come in to fix hydrants, when I would think that's a part of, daily maintenance or your daily, weekly schedule.
Well, 9 personnel. We have a plant operator that's continuously a plant operator. He's at the plant all the time doing maintenance over there by himself. We have a customer service guy, which is every day he gets customer service calls from the village hall that are pre-made every day or per week. So that leaves those 7 people. That includes every other job we deal with. So on a regular basis, to be out doing water operations, it's impossible. So when we had, years back in 2011, we had 13 people. That was much easier to go out and put a crew out continuously going out. And that's what we did, is why we only have the amount of water main breaks we currently have now. We got a lot of extra pipe put in, valves put in our bad areas of town, so that stopped a lot of water main breaks. We chopped it from 60 down to an average of 16 a year. So that saved a ton of overtime in itself. And then the future is continuously replacing the valves so we can do main replacements rather than clamping, and also replacement of fire hydrants.
Okay. And so, Mr. Burgess, I want to go back to the proposal that I did send to you. So yeah, so a month ago, I shot it over to you. And my estimate was, so you have to add in some other costs as well to your number to get a true number, because as you work overtime, you still pay, other taxes and other fringe benefits and stuff. So you need to add that in to get a true number. But, so my proposal before, so we talked about $100,000. So I tried to stay under that $100,000, mark there. So I was saying with two guys, possibly working for 20 hours a week, overtime that is, and let's just say, I know it won't take 30 weeks to fix hydrants. Now these two guys will probably be foremen, because those are, the highest salary guys there. And then in replace, while they're working on hydrants, we can bring in 2 temporary workers like we do for the summer to cut grass. We can bring in 2 temporary workers to kind of do the routine daily maintenance that they cannot, that they, will fall behind on. And so the salaries for the temporary workers and the pay for the 2 workers, the 2 foremen who are actually doing the fire hydrant work, will still be under $100,000. So I'm not sure why the union is not pleased or happy or excited about this, as you say, when we hire guys to cut grass. So I don't see what's the difference. They're still getting overtime per se, and so at the time that I put this together, I didn't know we needed 4 guys or 5 guys to do 1 fire hydrant. I thought 2, but again, I'm not digging the hole, so I don't know. I'm glad Mr. Weller was here to explain that. But that was based on 2 people and not 4 people. But even then, I don't think, in my opinion, it would take 30 weeks to fix, let's just say, 10 to 15 fire hydrants, right? Because if you're doing 20 hours a week of overtime, I'm not sure exactly all you can get done, but I'm assuming it's going to be more than 10 to 15. But that's just my opinion. So I wanted to present this to you, and I thought that you would have shared this with the board, so we can kind of discuss this. But then also keep in mind that, this $100,000 that we're trying to stay under, or that I try to stay under, we can also go out and this 20 hours that we're doing overtime, maybe cut down some trees as well, which, the union, I think we still have to figure that part out of the negotiations, but we can do hydrants and trees. So it's something I just want to put together, share with the board. But again, I think we've already went out to bid on, I think, just the hydrants only. So I don't even think we've even settled the piece about the trees yet. So I'm not sure what's going on there either. But, it was just a proposal I wanted to send to you and the board, so we can discuss it and get everybody's thoughts on it. But again, it sounds like we already have a plan in place. But I don't see why we can't just, keep that in-house, the $100,000, and get everything done.
Is that all that you?
That's it, Mayor.
Okay. Trustee Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Trustee Grant, in your proposal, I'm seeing all salaries. Where's the cost of the fire hydrants? Am I missing something on here?
No, so the cost of the fire hydrants are not included, because again, we can estimate, like Kevin estimated, I think he said $1,500 maybe or so. You said how much? $3,000 for one? Yeah. But that's worst case scenario. That's like, every hydrant is not that, it won't be that severe of a case.
We can't hear your response, Kevin.
Every hydrant that is broken right now is non-repairable, so it's a replacement, full replacement.
So all 50 of those hydrants need full repairs?
The 54, yes, they're all full repairs, broken stems, non-replaceable parts, nothing we can order, old technology from basically the 50s and 60s. So there's nothing we can part out. We're hoping to get just some caps and some other things like that we can put on some of the existing hydrants that are still working. But those in time will be the same thing.
Gotcha.
Okay, so my question is, that this proposal, you stayed under the $100,000, but it doesn't have any cost to the fire hydrants.
Right.
And again, we have no way of knowing, but you're anticipating 30 weeks to complete 16 hydrants. That's your proposal.
No, I don't think I'm just the option is to take up to 30 weeks to fix it. Let's just say 600 hours of overtime. Now will we need 30 weeks? I don't think so. So some of that money we can actually allocate towards supplies or parts for the fire hydrants.
I understand. That's why I wanted to verify. Your proposal is $95,000 salaries only. Does not include any cost to the fire hydrants.
Correct.
Now, the village administrator's proposal, a couple things on this one. You said $1,500 for salaries for 4 employees on a Saturday, but then you said a total of $2,500, maybe $3,000, includes labor and materials, but Kevin just said it could cost $3,000.
I guesstimated about $1,500 per item.
Okay, so it's more. Your proposal would be increased by, say, an additional $1,500 per Saturday. So we're looking at $4,500 a Saturday, providing it's 4 employees and it's $3,000 maximum. We're going to go high end. Okay, for the materials. Now, your email also said that some digging could, I'll be right with you, Kevin. Your email did say that there's some digging could be done through the week when there is time, so that there's pre-digging done. So perhaps when the employees get here on Saturday, some of the work is already done.
In a perfect world, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to maybe do some digging on Friday, prepare the hydrant changeover for Saturday. So we'll be able to get maybe 2 done if possible on Saturday. But again, and
the voice is reverberating, is, they take a beating, our public works guys, folks. I'm wanting you to know that besides the water shutoffs and the water repairs and the passing out notices and shutting waters off and putting it back on and helping people with their water issues and tree trimming and removal and tree pickup and branch pickup, street repair, restoration, litter pickup, grass cutting, setting up meeting rooms, repairing issues in the village and the building, everything falls on our public works department. And whether we like our public works department or don't like our public works department, they are a vital program for this village. And one of the reasons why we're not getting a lot of people jumping up and down on your proposal, trustee, is that the village has for many years, and nobody's fault, nobody's to blame, has had reduced the amount of employees in the public works department. We are down to 8. One of them is the systems person, so they're really down to 7 bodies doing all this work. And then we want them to do hydrant changes also, which is part of their project, but there's just not enough time in a day for them to do so. Right. And then you want to hire 2 additional people, let's say 4 people, if we needed 4, at $12.50 an hour, when the employees are making $30 an hour, the union guys.
And their experience.
So the union is going to say, no way, why would we allow that? When you guys are cutting staff constantly, now you want to hire 2 part-time guys at $12.50 an hour. And I know, it's a proposal. All it was a proposal. Tell me no, come back with a rebuttal, come back with something different. I understand it. And I appreciate you putting something out there. It's a discussion. It's something to get things moving. And that's what we're doing. We're getting things moving. We're changing hydrants and cutting trees. Now it's just a matter of just saying, okay, let's go with it. I don't think they're going to support that, trustee. I just think that was, I don't want to say insulting. It wasn't insulting, but it was like, wow.
Well, let me ask, how much do our temporary workers that we hire for the summer make?
So, some guys make $12.50 and they agree with that.
So what's the difference?
They're not happy with that, but they accept it because they're cutting grass. I mean, they're cutting grass. They're not doing all the work, the things that public works do. They're doing the grass cutting, so it takes it off of our guys.
Okay.
And they agree with that. They don't like that because they're paying them below what the union labor gets.
So now what's a problem? We're paying them the same money they're making.
I'm saying they do agree, they allow it, but they agree with it. I'm not happy with it.
I think there's a little bit of difference with the,
there's a big difference between
cutting grass and
and
fixing
taking
a
a spot of
hydrant.
our regular public works guys that
Yeah.
do the public works project.
Yeah.
Again,
Okay.
it's a discussion. And
I wasn't done with my question, by the way.
Okay.
I got distracted.
We're getting back and forth because, there's some things that you said that I have to disagree with, and that's cutting employees. We didn't cut anyone. And, we were trying to hire one, and we just haven't got to that point. But for the last 5 years, I don't know any time that we actually cut any employee off of the work.
My exact words, it's nobody's fault on this board.
No,
Right,
I'm just saying.
you had 15 employees in public works.
What I'm saying, sir.
Went down to 8. It's not that happened.
The only thing I'm saying.
Somebody cut something somewhere.
There's not been a cut in the last 5 or 6 years in that department.
Mr. Mayor, I didn't say you did. I didn't say it was your fault.
No, I didn't say that. But you're saying that.
I'm saying
Okay,
that
but
this village for a long time has cut staff.
what you stated was, and that's why I'm trying to change that. You stated that it was cut. It wasn't cut in the last 5 years. But I'm gonna go back to Trustee Williams in regards to what is it that you were trying to,
So what I was trying to say, and to make clear, was the proposal that we received by email from the village administrator was proposing 4 employees at $1,500 per Saturday. And now we're finding out that the labor and materials together could be as much as adding another $3,000 to the $1,500, $4,500 per hydrant, and that this could be done 1 hydrant per Saturday, that we could potentially get 10 hydrants by the end of the year, weather permitting, and also taking into account it is the holidays. There may be a good winter this year. It could be a bad winter. We could have a need for snow removal. So there's no guarantee. But I just wanted to get the cost per Saturday of dedicating Public Works people to this project. And I think dedicating 4 people on a Saturday for however many Saturdays we can get from now until the end of the year at a cost of no more than $4,500 for a Saturday. I'd like Kevin to weigh in. Is that possible? Because if it is, we could potentially get between maybe 10 and 15 hydrants done by the end of the year at a cost of $45,000.
Well, the parts again, I'm going to re-go over the parts. The parts themselves, the fire hydrant is $3,000. That includes the fire hydrant, the valve, the box, and the stabilizer. The stabilizer just assists the box to be in place so we can shut the valve off. To do a fire hydrant on the north side of town, which is what we're working on, which is the hardest side of town to work with, and not usually a problem on the town with breaks or anything, it's $360 for the T. $400 for the cut-in sleeves, there's 2 of those, and $100 for miscellaneous bolts and flanges, which is just connecting points. The average pipe that we have to put in is about 3 to 6 feet per side, which is about $228. Rough estimate for that is $4,608, so $4,600 just in parts on the north side.
So now it's up to $4,600.
That is all of the parts that will be needed to cut out a hydrant on the north side. Okay, it's not as easy as just going down to the bottom where the T is and just unbolting some bolts. That's not the way the north side is set up. And even the south side has that similarity, but the problem with that is it's been in the ground for 50 years. So the bolt holes tend to rot out. You're not going to attach a brand new hydrant to a rotted out T, and then you're going to end up ripping the bolt right through the T. So the cost is an average of just the $4,600 for just the parts. For regular hours, yes, the labor rate, if we do what we're talking about, that's a regular labor rate which we could work with right there for the hours to do the job. But the parts are guaranteed almost, unless the parts pricing goes up, which we don't know, with everything going on in the country and in the world right now, potential for pricing to go up could go up for supply and demand. So we're looking at an average for that price for them. Could we do that in a reasonable time, as long as, again, weather permitting, staffing permitting, we can put in hydrants on a regular basis as long as we have the ability to do it day to day.
So you see that Saturday, 4 employees on a Saturday at $1,500, that's definite. What's not definite is the amount of the materials that is needed to work with. But you're seeing...
The materials is definite.
Pardon me?
The materials are definite. That's a price no matter what.
Okay.
It's the matter of what do we do if we, like the administrator said, if we start digging the hole on a Friday, then the 4 employees installing that hydrant would not be a problem.
Okay, so you have employees that are willing to put the time in on Saturday to work this overtime. Again, snow removal and every holidays aside, you've discussed this with your staff and they're willing to do this?
It was offered to them, and it would be up to them to make those decisions.
It's up to them to make those decisions? Okay. That's all I have right now.
I have a comment. This has been a really good discussion about fire hydrants, but I just want to remind you guys that this is a time-sensitive issue. It's also a safety issue. We have been trying to get these fire hydrants in this village for the last 10 to 20 years. We need to do something. We need to protect our residents, and regardless of how much it costs, sometime or another you have to bite that bullet. So I'm saying it's a safety issue. Let's get the ball rolling, stop delaying this, and get some work done. Simple as that. You have 10,000 people that you have to address, and nobody comes up with all these different scenarios and stuff. Forget that. Today is the same day it was 20 years ago. You need those fire hydrants fixed, period. So let's get to work.
Mr. Finch, you have something to add to this? Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Finch. I'll talk after you.
I got to see both proposal, trustee Grant proposal, and the one from the village administrator, and I did discuss it at the talk with the treasurer. I'm in agreement with trustee Brewer. As I said Wednesday, this has been an issue for years. I just wish, again, we can all say all departments have been cut. I've been saying the Sauk Village need a staff accountant in the finance department. Prior to me being here, when the previous financial director was here, because of the amount of work. And the analogy that I gave Wednesday was, we don't tell our police officer to stop doing arrests because they've been cut too. Every department can say that. I've heard Mr. Herkes just say that basically if you have the guys come in on a weekend, it's open-ended. Let's be honest, they're not gonna come in on a weekend if they ain't signed up for overtime. It's just like the police officer. The chief put out a list who want to do overtime, they sign up for it. Mr. Willard just said they may or may not do it. So honestly, I think you guys fooling yourselves right now if you think they're gonna come in on a weekend when they have not been willing to work after 3:30. I think trustee Grant's proposal makes sense because I know personally I don't want to give up my Saturdays. I hate giving up my Saturday, especially to put in an 8-hour day. So it would just make sense to me if we asked, which I disagree with, that you have to ask permission to get people to work overtime, union-wise. But if they was to stop whatever they're doing at 1 o'clock, Monday through Friday, and work from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock before it get dark to exclusively do fire hydrant, why is that not something tangible? Because it really costs about $5,800 for this outside firm to do one fire hydrant. So back to trustee Brewer, one way or the other we're gonna pay for it. And unfortunately, we're gonna pay for it an outside firm, or we're gonna pay for it eventually a resident's gonna sue you guys for not fixing a fire hydrant that you willingly knew was broken. So my proposal, my suggestion is we have the money in the water account. It's $1.2 million plus. Talk to the members and ask them why they don't want to work overtime. Yes, I know they're busy. I'm a VA in Linwood and I understand where we're going. We have total 7 people. Not 7 plus a public work director, not 7 plus 2 foremen, 7 in total. It's just a matter of the body deciding to go to the union and say this is what they expected. Because they just got a raise. They just got paid the highest, some of the highest salary in the village. And you telling me they can't do part of their day-to-day job. I know the trees, I know the branches, I know all that stuff that goes on. But as Trustee Brewer keeps saying, this is a time-sensitive issue. If they can just get 5 done, it's 5 fire hydrants that don't got to be outsourced. This body talked about money all of last year. So if we're following the money, why would we waste it on outside firm when we have members of our collective body that know how to do the job? So I don't understand why the union will be objective to trustee Grant proposal because you're gonna bring in 2 new people. Well, those 2 new people, if they simple labor, let them be the one doing the trash or putting door signs on people for water bills or whatever other mundane tasks gotta be done, and have your more senior people do the heavy lifting, which is the fire hydrants, the tree cutting, and whatnot, potholes and whatnot. There's a way this could be done. It's called project management. So just be aware, the body, that we about to spend $100,000 outsourcing on the low end. We about to spend another $50,000, $60,000 to have members work on a Saturday. But yet, I watched this body tell us how much money we don't have. So it's just a matter of will. That's my comment.
Thank you. What I'd first like to see is, I have your proposal here, but I'd like to see the other proposal. And one of the things is, it's very apparent, Mr. Finch, how you feel about our Public Works Department.
No, wait, stop.
No, I let you talk. I let you talk.
Point of order. Point of order.
She's not gonna do that.
She has the floor. Point of order.
Hold on. We'll go ahead and finish your.
I let you speak, but I've listened as well. And I've listened to what you've said. Now, one of the things is, do we really want to outsource it? No, I think it'd be done in-house. When you're saying they don't want to work overtime, I sit and listen to what you're saying. I'm looking at your proposal, and you're talking about temporary employees working 40 hours a week. So are they going to get IMRF? Are they going to get all the benefits? Because they're going to work 40 hours a week. So that was the first 4 guys on to do one of the fire hydrants. And I have to agree, these fire hydrants need to be done. And it's been years. And they're slowly breaking, and they're going to just add up. And what I'm going to say, Mr. Finch, because I do listen to what you're saying, and maybe you want to listen to your words when you're saying, I don't know, understand, we just gave them a raise, why don't they want to work overtime? It's apparent, I've listened to the tapes, that I just know how you feel about our Public Works Department. You want to refer to us as the body, that you include us all, and it's not fair. Yes, we want this done. We have money in the water fund, spend it on what it needs to be spent on. Do the fire hydrants. Now, we need to find out, is Public Works, will they work the overtime on a Saturday, or will they work it during the week? Now, it's getting late, so they're not going to be able to do it on overtime after 3:30 because it starts getting dark. Now, as far as this, that's what I need to know, Trustee Grant. When you're looking at 40 hours for 2 temporary workers, they're going to have to get benefits. And I don't think the union would allow temporary, but when you talk about summer help, they're part-time. They only work part-time. So I guess we need to know what the difference is. And I want to see proposals side by side of what you're proposing, and then we're looking at yours, but we know they're saying it's 4 workers. It's going to take at least 4 workers to do a fire hydrant on a Saturday. So that's what I wanted to say as far as this. When it came to the temporary worker, you didn't know what the difference was. Well, summer help is only 20 hours a week. And we don't pay them benefits. This, I believe we would have to pay benefits. And I think the union might have an issue with it because it's 40 hours a week. But it's with a salary, so that's just my opinion. But I'd like to see proposals side by side.
Okay, so that's what you want to say. You want to say proposals side by side.
As what we're looking at.
Okay.
They're talking maybe doing outside and also doing public works. I think we need to really look at this and then also look at how much money can we spend. You're right, we have the money in the water fund. You have a lot of money in the water fund. Take part of it, I'm not saying all of it, and try to get as much done as you can in the next 6 months, even.
Okay, so you want them to come back with some hard numbers, because these are kind of.
This is only going to delay.
Lower. It shouldn't take that long.
It
shouldn't take that long to put together that type of schedule. It shouldn't take that long. Trustee Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't want to delay this any further. We've got the money. The water fund is supposed to be used for fire hydrants. We need to move on. I mean, this proposal calls for two temporary workers. We don't even have hired yet. We've got staff right now. I say we should move forward with at least getting started. We can always amend. We can always change and go into another program such as this one later on. But right now, I would like to see Public Works start this Saturday. Right. I would like to open it up to Public Works Department this weekend. I'd like to say we got overtime for you, and I'd like to get started. And we can always revisit it. No, yes, whatever. I say, as a trustee, that we need to start immediately. We need to stop putting this off. It's not like we don't have the money. We don't have to borrow the money. The money is there. Our resident safety comes first. Even if we start with Public Works going out and doing a couple fire hydrants or one fire hydrant every week from now until whenever they can, we're starting. We're showing the residents that we care. The money is there. I feel like we're holding the money hostage. And then if it doesn't work, then we move to Plan B. But right now, Plan A is, let's get busy.
Mr. Mayor and trustees, I'm sorry, you guys have been talking about fire hydrants for quite a while now.
We're trying to finish
One thing that was stated a while back that made a lot of sense, and then it was stated again tonight. You need to develop a plan.
This is the plan, Madam
No,
Clerk.
the plan for them just to, because I'm talking.
You're not
The plan for them just to start working on Saturday is not a satisfactory, well thought out plan. A plan of action would be something comparable to what the village administrator sent to you guys via an email. It's something similar to what Trustee Grant. But just to say, oh yeah, they're gonna start Saturday, which ones are they gonna start with? How is it?
Mr. Mayor, I think it's out of order, Madam Clerk.
I am out of order, and I keep telling you all from time to time.
Madam Clerk, you're out of order. This is the trustees' discussion.
When you guys do this type of planning or lack of planning that you do, guess who turns around and have to undo the unplanned? And that is me, and I'm not going to just sit here quietly and watch you guys create disaster. It's time out for your people. It's time out. It's time out. We acknowledge that. Say something else.
Point of order,
Say something else.
Point of order, Madam Clerk.
You don't know. This is how you do that.
Mr. Mayor.
This is how you do that. In case you need to know, you call a point of order to the mayor.
I asked him.
And no. And then
Mr.
the
Mayor, point of order for your clerk.
the point of order, and then he accepts it. You don't keep saying point of order, point of order, point of order.
Why don't you stop talking and let the trustees talk?
Learn, because you guys aren't being
your job.
You're
Let the
not
trustees do
talking
theirs.
as informed individuals, and it is sickening.
Madam Clerk, may I make my comment?
That's what happens when you don't take point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Now, what we're not gonna do, I did it this time because I didn't feel like trying to yell over everybody. But for a person to take a mic and just stand up and start talking, that's not gonna happen again.
Thank you.
And I hope that I do not have to do it again.
Okay.
But get your trustees
no, it's
in
not.
check. And then you'll get everybody in check. But this is a zoo.
But are you going to
And if this is
Are
a
you
zoo-
going to listen?
No.
Okay, so then if you don't want somebody to respect you, then how did you?
I want someone to respect
because
me,
I just
but
got
I
to.
think that they need to respect this entire
Why
process.
should they?
If they don't
Why
respect
should they?
this
You cannot
process,
just take a
they just
microphone.
push through whatever they think
Madam,
that they want
how do you know
without
that
any
push it?
thought.
How you know to push it through?
Oh, please.
You cannot
To
stand
go
up.
from
You
listening
cannot.
to him to listening to
Okay.
looking at this one,
From this
and
point
then
on-
saying, oh, they're gonna start
From this
staring.
point on.
Listen to you.
No, listen to me. From this point on, if it happens, I will ask for the jury.
And you know what?
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, may I just...
That's fine, so that you understand, that's everybody. That's everybody.
With a jury.
Then why are you going back and forth?
Mr. Mayor,
Why are you going back and
This is
forth,
crazy.
Madam Clerk?
It is funny.
Because that's what you feel, fine. But if you're not going to respect the chair, how you expect anybody else to respect what you're saying?
You know what?
So, that being said, I'm not going back and forth with you.
Mr. Mayor,
So they're gonna ask
let me,
me a
I'm not-
question.
I just...
You just asked me a question.
I'm through. I made a statement. I didn't ask
No, you
you.
asked a question.
Okay, I want to address Trustee Todd, because he made that point, and other trustees made the same point. I have no problem with Public Works. What I have a problem with is, let me say it since you don't want me to say the body. The trustees that came in last year, you guys scrutinized, let me exclude Trustee Williams. Trustee Todd, Trustee Brewer, Trustee Zazinski, and maybe even except Trustee Bell, and even Trustee Grant. Everybody scrutinized all the departments. Was they qualified? Was the mayor put them in the right position? And all that. Trustee Brewer, first day of the meeting in February 2019, asked me about fire hydrant. That was nowhere in my job description, ever have been and ever will be. I put, subsequent to that meeting, put $55,000 in that budget for a fire hydrant. How many fire hydrant was done between then and now? We're about to spend $100,000 in this budget. So when I say, why can't they do their job? This is the same trustees, and now all the trustees included, that did not want to give the finance department a 2.5% raise or 2% raise last year in the budget.
That's not true.
That is true.
That is not true.
Now we're going back and forth.
Totally true.
That is so true.
Trustee Williams, you're going back and forth. We're not gonna do
We
this.
had that conversation. So,
Let him speak, let him finish.
can we, Madam, if we can ask Madam Clerk to pull the minutes on
We
that.
got way off the subject.
So, no,
We are way
so
off
the subject is, Trustee Brewer, the subject,
Are we gonna get some fire hydrants fixed?
right, that's the subject.
That's the subject.
The subject is fire hydrant paying from last year.
I'm asking this board for a 5-minute
Okay,
recess.
all that extra stuff don't mean, are we gonna get some fire hydrants fixed?
You have to ask your Public Works Department, Trustee Brewer.
All in favor?
Ask your Public Works Department. You told me find the money, I found the money. So,
I wanna know when it's gonna start. I
What's
don't
your
understand all
5-minute
this stuff.
recess? You guys seem like you don't want to listen.
It don't make any sense.
So 5 minutes, you can sit here and look at each other.
You know,
Maybe it'll change.
Lord have mercy.
That's a shame. You all grown people.
I got the money, okay? I can't make them spend a meter, Mr. Fisk, some of y'all. Why you need?
I can't spend the money. I can't talk to you, everyone talk to me ever.
You see what I mean? Nothing for the residents. I already know where you spend the money at. Ain't this crazy? This is really crazy. As much as I fuck here, I don't know.
I'm gonna find a minute, you see, when we talk about
This
the
is
raise.
crazy. This is really crazy.
Maybe our time down.
The trustees found $250,000 to sue the taxpayers and the mayor, but now they don't have money for fire hydrants. You all should be ashamed of yourselves. That's the truth. $250,000 in legal fees in 1 year. Their first year in office. You had money for that.
Anyway.
Assholes.
I don't know.
Bunch of jagoffs. All of you.
I don't care. There's no man from another city gonna sit there and tell you how to do your job in your city. Come on now. You gotta go there and make nice with his ball.
That was not
Just like it was back in the old years.
Yeah, we want to go first. Yeah, that only one person.
Outsource the damn thing. Get it done. You get all 37 of them done.
Trustee Grant.
I mean, he probably going over this.
Outsource and get them all done.
All right, y'all, we got 2 minutes. Let's go.
Yell it up. 67 done. Outsource it.
Yeah.
You ain't gotta worry about hurt feelings. How many you gonna do overtime? Whether it's Christmas or not.
The union wants to file a grievance, let them.
Outsource.
We're holding the village hostage and progress hostage because of what the union wants. and if Public Works will work on the weekend.
Call the meeting to order. Let's go. No. Call it what it is. I'm trying to ask you a question. Come back here. Can I do my public comments while the recess going on? No.
You gotta stay here with us.
Oh, my God.
No, that's part of,
What happens when you got all chiefs, no Indians?
Y'all can have that conversation tomorrow. Let's finish the meeting. Now, I asked the board to come back from recess. Madam Clerk. Please call the roll.
Trustee Pruitt.
Here.
Trustee Grant. Here. Trustee Jazinski. Trustee Todd. Here. Trustee Williams. Here. Trustee Debbie.
Here. Okay. In regards to, as far as the fire hydrants and everything is concerned, yes, we've beaten that horse for the last longer than I care to try to even think about. But what I would like to do is, in the essentials, I still want to see something that we can go by, if it's going to cost or whatever, and then we can get that proposal and we can get it out to the trustees ASAP and get a consensus. So once we put something on writing and put it down, that shouldn't take too long. This is Tuesday, you're having before the weekend. All I ask is that you give a consensus back. We talked about it, we went back and forth, and give a consensus back to the clerk, and we'll go from there. The next item. No, I want this to be resolved before next week. I don't see why it should be even on the agenda. It's just a matter of seeing what needs to be done, how much it's going to cost, and we can go from there. I don't think we need to, because he needs to let his people know, they're going to be working this weekend or next weekend. So they I can understand that. The next item is Trustee Todd, ordinance amending. This is an amending decision. Division 6 food dispensaries. I think you have two ordinances here. One is the old one. I guess the other one is the one that's being proposed. Is that correct?
Okay, what you have, and you're talking about the mobile food dispenser? Yes. Okay. This would be, this one that the attorneys drafted, and what you're going to
see. That's the new one.
Right, you're going to see lines through it, and that's something that they had given to the ordinance review.
Okay.
Because of the situation that we have where people are popping up with tents and cooking, you know, selling food, and so there's a question in that, so the ordinance needed to be looked at. Now, there's several things with this ordinance. Now, if you're gonna see the line down, and what they've done is, they took the section, got rid of it, and replaced with the same numbers, this, what you see in front of you, that's all underlined. Well, we quickly went through it, and there's a couple of changes that need to be made, but the reason I'm bringing it to the board is there's gonna be a lot of facets to this. So this just says that we're on this, where the temporary food dealers, you're gonna see under 18-547 on B, it'll say, any person making applications for a license required by the provisions of the division shall apply in writing to the village clerk. We feel that should say community development director. And then in the same sentence, it'll just say county health department, it should say Cook County.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so ours were very minor looking at it, but one of the things is, and you're going to see, I handed out, it was this Cook County Department of Health, is an application for a temporary food service permit, and it's like $25 a day that they charge. We have to figure out, because Cook County's Health Department, this is where I think they're gonna run into their biggest issue, is if you have a tent, what is your, you know, like, do you have the sinks that need to go in there? Because there's a whole thing that is required with Cook County. So our ordinance review wants to meet with Antonio Cooper, because he's community development director, as far as what we want to call this. What are we going to charge? How are you going to charge? What kind of permit would you give? If it's only going to say, okay, this week I'm going to be over here, and this week I'm going to be over here. Now, I don't know if you've read through the ordinances, or through this ordinance, but they can only be within, like, they had to be like 300 feet away from a business unless they have written permission. They're going to have to hold a license from Cook County, or a permit from Cook County. How are they going to be inspected? So there's a lot of questions when it comes to this particular ordinance. Now, on the one on the back, it's 18-550. You can set a penalty if there's a violation of this. And our committee feels it should be $500. But I also included in your packet that Park Forest has similar stuff, so to go through and maybe we might mirror off some of the stuff or take some of it off, because they have things for, you know, peddlers, they call them, or they might have, as I was going through, there's different things that they have. Someone that might have a food cart, which would be different than the pop-up tent. So we really need to investigate further. So this isn't going to be done in the next couple of weeks, but I want the board's input on this as to, even though I gave you this tonight, maybe go through it and look. We're not going to adopt exactly what Park Forest, but it gives you kind of a guideline. I can also check with other municipalities, how do they deal with that? You do have farmer markets, but those, they get a certain license. There's certain things that are required for that. So that's why I'm bringing it to you. We did look at this, but there was only little minor changes when it came to wording, but I would appreciate if you go through it and give the thoughts, kind of look at, like Park Forest, that was one of them, as to kind of what they do and what it addresses. So that's why I'm coming before you. I mean, we've met, and if you have input on it, you can always email me, because we're going to have to schedule another meeting. But I would really like to meet with Antonio Cooper in regards to this, as to how would we charge. I also think we want to talk to Tina from the Cook County Health, what is involved, because that's going to be the biggest issue, I think, for the individuals that want to put up a tent and sell food. So you want to make sure that it's done correctly. We don't want any issues, but I think that's a hurdle they might have to get over. So we want to make sure that we get it all put in place. But I just want input from the trustees.
Okay, is this, I'm looking at this, is this the ordinance that's in place that you're talking about?
Right.
So this ordinance is in place.
The one that's crossed out, because.
So in other words, there is an ordinance that does exist about temporary food here.
Correct, right. Currently, the one that's crossed out is what we currently have.
Okay.
And what they had done was take that ordinance
Okay.
and just actually numbered it the same and replaced it. This one that you see is more detailed. It covers more ground.
So what was the reason for this order?
Which one? Oh, that's for that's the second ordinance I'll be talking about.
Oh, okay, so that has nothing to do with it.
No.
Okay, okay.
No, that's
So this, okay, because I was trying to compare them, I didn't see any comparison, okay. Okay.
Right, and so I just want your input. I mean, this is it's not gonna happen in the next month that we're gonna have this ironed out, because I have to, actually, like I said, get together with Cook County Health, talk to them. This is their application that people have to submit. It's a permit, actually. Well, they say an application for the permit. It's a temporary one, and they charge $25 per day for it.
Okay.
So I think we really need to get more clarification when it comes to this particular, if you want to put a tent up and sell, we want to make sure that the person is in compliance, and so I just need the input. So if you could go through it, you can always email me, you can call me, because we're going to...
The lawyers actually cross this out, because I see the name on it, I see all of our names on it, as if we passed this already, but we didn't.
No.
So they did the crossing out here, correct? The lawyers did?
That's correct. In fact, this is how it came to us. I had not sent this off. This actually, when there was an issue going on with a pop-up tent selling food,
Okay.
then it was referred to Antonio
Okay.
and to our village administrator. And so we needed to get something, we needed an ordinance as to how do we address it. So they actually did this and then sent it over to the ordinance review.
Oh, so you say this ordinance was actually just created?
Yes. No, the amended one, the amended, not the first ordinance. When you see this ordinance like this,
right?
Okay, it's crossed out. That's our original ordinance. We have not done anything with what they're proposing.
So when was this ordinance passed, is what I'm saying?
No.
It wasn't, okay, so they created that and they added, so where did they get their draft from?
What I'm saying is, it says the ordinance, they're amending the division.
Correct.
All right, so this is the original, right here. Anything that's crossed out is your original ordinance. We have not done, in other words, if I'm going to present an ordinance, okay, this is what we want on, this is what we want in there, we bring it to the board, we then vote on it. This is not being voted on anytime soon.
Well, somebody created this, that's what I'm saying.
The attorneys created it. I did not send it off to the attorneys. This was done when there was the incident with their pop-up
So they just
tent.
created this.
And so they're taking this one that's lined out. They're using the same numbers.
Okay.
So if it says 18-547, you're going to see an 18-547. They just replaced it. Instead of creating a whole new section, they've fine-tuned it.
But they fine-tuned, okay, but they had to use a template, so this is what I'm saying, they got this from wherever, and then they are trying to apply it to Sauk Village.
Is this an existing ordinance?
That's what I'm saying, this is an
We have
existing
an
ordinance.
existing ordinance already.
If this is an existing ordinance, then why isn't the number on there? You don't see the ordinance number on there.
May I make an attempt?
So that's one thing I'm saying, if it's existing, then it should be filed, which means it would be, but if it's not, then it's something that's a template, and then they're trying to, make it applicable to Sauk Village. I can understand that, because it has it as if it was, and it's being amended, but if it was never voted on, then why would it be amended? That's what I'm thinking.
May I make an attempt, please?
Go ahead.
Thank you. This ordinance that was presented from the Ordinance Review Committee is one amending an existing ordinance that's already on the book. And so, since this is amending it, What you have before you are the recommended changes, which causes it to be amended. So those areas that you see the strikeout, that's the recommendation to remove those sections from the existing
That was my question.
ordinance.
What is the existing ordinance?
The
Where's that at?
number, I can get that number for you tomorrow.
No, to see the ordinance, that's all.
I'll get you a copy of that ordinance tomorrow. Those that are underlined are the recommended changes to the previous ordinance.
Okay, I understand that part.
So,
I just want to see the ordinance.
this is just as they present any other ordinance for us. They do not give an ordinance number until it's passed by the Board of Trustees, and the cover page is no different than any ordinance that's presented for a vote.
Madam Clerk, I understand everything you said except for the last thing. If it's a ordinance amending something, where's the ordinance that was the original that you amended?
I'll get that to you tomorrow.
That's what I was saying. Is
Okay.
there ordinance and when was
Yes.
that passed? That passed a long time
A
ago.
long time ago.
Okay, that's all I was asking.
But I'll get you that copy tomorrow.
2005.
Okay.
Trustee Todd seems to think that it was 2005.
I don't know when it was, we'll have to look that up.
Okay.
But I want to also state that when the attorney did this, they were checking with Cook County. So they were doing legwork to figure out, to make sure that what's in here is in compliance with Cook County.
Okay.
And I thought the thing that they had sent over to the ordinance review and to you, Mr. Herkes, I thought I had the piece of paper here so I could read what they exactly had done. But I can make sure you get that, Mr. Mayor, what they sent over to us.
That's all. I just like to compare. That's all. Okay, anybody have any questions on this particular topic? Trustee Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that this just came to light a little while ago because there was somebody that popped up with a tent. Are you familiar with this ever being discussed in the past as far as, so this is new to us, so it's good that we're doing our due diligence. But looking through the Park Forest paperwork, what I'm seeing is copy of insurance identification, driver's licenses required, temporary food service establishment regulations, retailers or service occupation tax number. So it just seems that there's a lot more involved than just opening up and selling food. So what my question is, it also comes with inspections. When you apply for a license to sell this food, it also comes with inspections. What I'd like to know is, how are our current restaurants that sell food, how are they inspected? How often are they inspected?
Okay. They inspected that's what we just passed. I think we just passed the health inspection contract with the health department. So they're inspected, I think, every 6 months.
Okay.
And they pay for that. The restaurants pay us, or that we have to reimburse Cook County.
So I just wanted that on the record because I know we did pass that just last week. So this is something that we've always done. We've always had inspections done at our food establishments. So the fact that it's not a brick and mortar, but that it's mobile or it's a pop-up, it still needs to be inspected, and it needs to be inspected according to whatever Cook County expects us to do. Okay? So I'm glad that we're talking about this right now, but are we doing our every 6-month inspections with our restaurants as well?
They absolutely have to.
Okay.
That's part of the business license. But back to what you said, this is not the first time I saw food trucks or mobile. I've seen that before I was even involved in the village, as far as they drive through. And now, did they have to have license? I don't know. Were they ever challenged? I don't know. Like I said before, I became and got into politics, but I have seen in the last 4 or 5 years, I haven't seen many of those trucks out anywhere, not just in Sauk Village, anywhere, but they used to go past and sell all type of things, ice cream and everything else that they would sell on the trucks. So, and as a matter of fact, we used to have them over in you would see them more or less in the industrial parks.
Right.
And they would be there. Now, whether or not I've seen anybody run after them and tell them, like I said, I don't know, but I know that they have been existing. So this is not the first time I've seen food trucks or food pop-ups come out in the village. So, but it's good that we can probably get something. That's what I was asking about, because I'm not aware of this one. And hopefully now we'll have something in place.
And like I said, it would be in stone for everybody. We're not just using one person or one place as an example, but we'd have to move forward with, like you said, the coaches that go to the industrial park. If somebody reports that, then we have to go there.
Well, I mean, they were allowed to operate. I haven't seen them in years, but they were allowed to operate at the different industrial parks, and they were selling food right there. And so, but okay. Anybody else have anything on this particular topic? Okay, we'll go to the next one.
Okay, the next one is, and the reason it looks like an old ordinance, because it is. One of the things that had been brought to us is that the hours of operation, that you cannot park on the street on garbage day.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's what this is, and we have, and right now it says 7 to 3:30. Well, okay, so that's why you have this ordinance, because that's what it reads now. And we reviewed it, and the hours should be, we think, 6 a.m. because some of the garbage trucks are coming through the neighborhood a little after 6 in the morning. I know in my neighborhood they are. So we wanted to do it like at 6 o'clock in the morning and maybe extend it till 4. But I want your opinion because I don't know how late, the garbage truck runs. Are they... Because after 3:30, they can park on the street, according to this ordinance. So we want to make it earlier because they are coming through earlier. But we said maybe we'll give it, till 4 o'clock. 6 to 4, you can't park on the street on garbage day.
So you're asking for an amendment for this particular ordinance to read 6:30 to 4 p.m.
6.
Oh, 6. I thought you said 6:30.
No, it's 6. 6 to 4, but I want your opinion on it. I know they come early. So I don't know if you want to change the afternoon because I don't know how late they run through the village.
That depends on, see, a lot of times it depends on, and that's the only time they come late is when it's after a holiday. So they're picking up double. So sometimes they come, come pretty late. But that'll be something that, does anybody else have any input? She's asking to have the amended to 6 o'clock a.m. to 4 p.m. on garbage day.
No, I'm in agreement. I think that, I know where I stay, the garbage man comes around 6:15, 6:30, so I agree with your 6 o'clock start time. Mm-hmm. And the 4 o'clock is just an extra half an hour. I think it's, small, but, 6 to 4 seems fine to me.
Anybody else have any? Okay, then, trustee, if you can get that amended. Is there anything else in here that you want to?
No, it was just the hours.
Okay.
That needed to be amended.
How would you do that?
Well, in our handbook, it states garbage pickup days.
What do you mean by holiday stipulation?
The day is my garbage pickup, that's Friday.
Okay.
So it's coming Saturday. So there's a holiday Monday.
They don't pick up on Saturday.
They do?
No.
They do pick up on Saturday?
If it's a holiday.
I thought they would pick up, okay, I didn't know they picked up on Saturdays. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying, what are you saying?
Well, I'm saying, my side of town in my area is Friday morning.
Okay.
So the next day would actually be Saturday. Saturday 6.
So you're asking to have that?
Except for holidays.
But if it's except for holidays, how would you word it?
The holiday stipulation according to our village handbook.
Yeah. I'm just wondering how you put that in there.
You want to see that put in the ordinance except for holidays?
No, not except for holidays. The days are going to vary.
Wait, you got to pull your mask down. There you go.
Times are going to vary according to the handbook.
That what?
This got the public's days off.
Okay.
So then, if yours is on Tuesday, so it's gonna be picked up on Wednesday, mine's on Friday, it's picked up on Saturday. So you shouldn't have a parking street on Saturday. Since it's technically a garbage day. See what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying. No, this ordinance doesn't mention dates, it's just the hours.
Just hours.
Just hours.
On the days when corresponding side of the block is scheduled for garbage pickup. So,
You're just supposed to do normal garbage pickup on it then? Or you can't take a issue on Saturdays if you do?
well, it's the way it is. So,
We will.
if you want to stipulate, on holidays, in other words, what he's saying is, if the holidays on a Friday, Saturday, we can pick up that.
So you want us to specify in the ordinance?
Well, you'd have to mirror,
When it's a holiday.
it off the handbook, you know, for public days on these certain holidays. But I mean, you're not gonna put the numbers are gonna change, but the days are the same. Columbus Day, Veterans Day, whatever.
We're not gonna put that in there.
I'm
We
just
don't
saying,
put the days.
Fourth of
in
July,
there. The
Thanksgiving.
days will change. Because every holiday we have may not be a holiday for the garbage. That's another thing.
That's true. I mean, the garbage, the Republic doesn't have as many
No, they don't.
as we
No, they
would
don't.
have.
No, they don't.
They're very far, they're like, I don't know, 5, maybe 5.
6, I think it is.
5 or 6. I mean,
Okay.
whatever, you know, that's why I'm bringing it to the board. We're gonna amend this ordinance, so if there's something you wanna see in it, and then I'll bring it back to the ordinance review before we send this up.
Okay, then just do
So-
that. You can put in there, except holidays. No, include.
But you know, if it's on a Saturday, our code enforcement's not out, and I don't think the police officers, I don't know if they're giving tickets or not.
I'm not going to aid in that. Police officers are supposed to write tickets. I'm not going to aid in that.
Wait, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I'm not saying, I'm not going to aid, I'm not going to even put that on record, that, you know, so.
I don't know if they are or they're not.
No, I'm not talking about
Oh,
code for, I'm talking about police officers.
right, I don't know, I'm not sure if the police officers are or not, I guess we need to find out.
No, they should write tickets too.
Oh, I agree.
And they can. So
I
I'm not
agree.
saying that they haven't.
I didn't say
When
they
you say they
did.
haven't, somebody
I said, I don't know if they are or not.
Okay, all right. Is there any other questions on that? Yes?
I personally am one of those that my garbage pickup is on Friday. What happens is on Saturday, once the garbage is picked up, people park on the street. I think that's why Trustee Bell is saying that. But when this was brought up before, I think what Public Works said is they use that Friday. If they're gonna do street cleaning or street sweeping or whatever, they use your garbage day, so they always had those hours to fit their hours. So on Saturday, Public Works isn't gonna more than likely come out and trim, you know,
It won't be
cut
out there.
trees or nothing. And I am one of those houses that my holiday, if it falls on during the week, my garbage picks on Saturday. So I don't know how you want to change that or if you want to, but as a rule, as long as I've had garbage pickup the way it is, it states here, corresponding side of the block is scheduled for pickup. So that means if there's a holiday, the corresponding date is going to be that Saturday. Do you really want to change it? Because it's just understood, once the garbage is gone, everybody parks on the street. So, do we want to change it, or just leave it because it's Saturday?
Oh, we can, it's best now to talk about it. I don't want them to come up, the review come up and then we change everything like we never talked about it. So, I just want to make sure that if the way that you're talking, Trustee Todd, makes sense, unless they want to have in there except for days that the garbage pickup falls on a holiday. Garbage pickup falls on a Friday, then Saturday would be, that's one thing I can say. That's one thing I can say. The garbage day falls on a Friday, and I'm sorry, a holiday falls on a Friday, and Saturday would be a garbage day. And then the rules would apply to that.
Would apply, so you want kind of something like that.
Yes.
Are you okay with the hours?
Right. The hours thing, is everybody okay with the 6?
It's a 6 to 4.
Yes. Okay. All right.
And then you want to see language in there if it includes a holiday.
Yeah.
Like on Saturday.
Yeah, if the house.
That it applies on
Pickup,
Saturday.
right.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right, then I'll bring it back to the committee. And that's all I have.
Okay. Well, I didn't think you picked up garbage on Saturday, to tell you the truth, but I guess they do. Okay, the next item is, Madam Clerk, is the handbook review.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to start by apologizing for my outburst. And hopefully the board and you will accept that apology because it was out of order. However, I'm going to move on to the residential handbook. This is being presented just for review. There are areas in it that really requires review. This is looking at the old handbook, but adding additional areas in the in this proposed one. This is not a rush. It's just something that we've been working on and talking about for quite a while, and I want to thank our HR consultant who helped to get this ball started, as well as Trustee Williams, who took the first look at it and made some recommended changes. If you look through it though, you will see a number of areas that I did include, and I was asking Trustee Bell just then about the garbage pickup that he was referencing, because it's likely I may have taken a sentence out, and if that sentence that I took out, if I took it out, is what's causing the concern, then I can gladly put it back in, because I can remember the past book, and I'm just a little nervous right now, so I'm not seeing what I could have taken out, and that was until, it was a language that said until the garbage trucks passed. So that means that if they do your garbage at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, then after that time, you can park on the street. That was the language in the previous handbook. And as I said, I may have taken it out, but I definitely need to look at it in my quiet time. Okay, so where do we go from here? I submitted this to you guys a couple days ago, and some of you have provided feedback. Some of it has been verbal. What I would ask, though, is that you just tear out the page or write your name on it, tear out the page, however you would want to do it, and communicate in writing directly on this document what your recommended changes are. One area, if you look at page 4, I left that in, but I just honestly did not see why we endeavored to give so much time and information on our water filtration system. Another area, as you go through, you're going to see little comments from me in parentheses where I would say I need clarification, and especially when it came to parking of automobiles on streets and disabled automobiles. It just seemed like that language just rattled on and on and on. And so I'm going to really ask that you look at that. Another area that really needs your attention, I struggled with coming up with some language where the trustees are concerned in terms of your responsibilities and duties. And I just don't think that I was inclusive enough in terms of what you do. So if you can look at that piece and possibly provide some input there as well. But then naturally, any other area, you're more than welcome to provide your feedback. I'm not going to go back and give every recommendation that was made by a particular trustee to the other trustees. I will make the changes based upon me doing greater research, because a lot of research has gone into just updating that book. I mean, a lot of research. In terms of our ordinances, I've looked at some of the churches to make certain that information was accurate. I looked at the secondary schools. I looked at the post-secondary schools to make certain that the language that I put for Prairie State and Governor State was accurate, so that we are giving correct information to our residents. So, as I said, this is not a rush. However, it would be nice if we could target maybe the start of the year for us to actually put it out. It will go on the website, and it will be available to anyone who comes to the Village Hall to request a copy. We will not, and it will go to any new resident exactly as it's distributed at the current time. So it's not going to incur any other cost other than the copying. And I am anticipating doing it in a booklet form that's like this size here, but I played with it yesterday and the font was too small when, you know, it just automatically went through the copier. So I just have to play with it to see if we can do something that's a little more friendlier to old eyes who would need a larger font size. But to have it in the format that it has been given, I think that we can, you know, up our game and do a little better than what we've been presenting. Thank you.
I do have one question. This, I guess, page 16, and I know you don't have one in front of you, but it's where it says inoperable vehicles. It says this section needs help. Is this brand new?
No, that was in there, and that's me who's saying this section needs help.
Okay, so this was already in there.
That was already in there.
All right.
And that's what I was saying. It really, it needs some eyes on it.
Okay. All right, so as Clerk said, if you have any suggestions or anything that you have questions on, please get it to her as soon as you can, and we'll go from there. But I guess this is just a review right now to look at it and kind of get an idea of what it is you want the book to look like, correct?
And if there's other areas that you would want included, we can add more areas as well.
All right.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Trustee Williams.
I noticed that kennel licenses was removed. Do we no longer require kennel licenses?
No, we don't offer those anymore.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. I do see that there's a lot of extra content, so thank you for the time that you took to do that.
Okay. All right. Get to the part now, public comment. Public comment, if you,
We need a mic up
okay, I think I got some. Okay, public comment, all questions, comments will be directed to the mayor. Each speaker may comment on any matter pertaining to the business of Sauk Village. Each speaker will be allowed one opportunity to speak for up to 3 minutes and may not engage in debate, counter replies, or rebuttal. Please state your name when you come up, and we'll go from there. Just 1 second. I'm going to try to get a timer. Oh, you do have one? That's good.
Well, I'll just do it manually. This is only your time. I'll do it manually.
Okay, you ready? Okay. Oh, that mic's not working?
Testing. Thank you, Trustee Grant. My name is Linda Washington, and I have a couple of things to say. I'm gonna try to say as much of it as I can in 3 minutes. First of all, I want to say that whatever is good for one resident should be good for all residents. I personally have seen people tagging in the village ever since the summer. One is a particular reoccurring group, others are new groups, and every time I see them out, circle back around and ask them, who are you tagging for? And they'll tell me. Usually this occurs on the expressway and on Lincoln Highway on Saturdays and even on Sundays and Fridays, because you know the people get paid on Fridays. I know that people have to see these people out here tagging. And I don't understand why it's okay for some people to tag and ask for money and other people can't tag unless they have a letter from the police department, show credentials, what they're tagging for, that their organization is a legitimate organization. So I think that there's a lot of bias that's going on with the residents. I have seen people have gatherings in parks of more than 30 or 50 people, which I think is a part of the ordinance, that if you have more than 30 or 50 people, you're supposed to have a permit from the village. They're out there cooking food, hot dogs, having all kind of activities. I don't think that they had a permit to have that. I can FOIA it to see if they did. I got the dates and places and times. People have been having all kinds of events all over this village. So if you're gonna penalize somebody and make an ordinance, I think it should be for everybody. Unfortunately, because we don't have code enforcement on the weekend, I have personally observed people building, adding on, doing all kind of stuff to their homes, garages, businesses. Since the summer to last weekend, I have seen building going on. They know when the village hall is closed, so they build these things on Saturdays, especially when the weather is nice, and nobody says anything about it. So when one resident look around and see somebody building or adding on to their house or property or business, and nobody said anything to them, then they all do it, and so they know to do it on the weekends. So I know that our code enforcement don't work on Saturdays and Sundays. We just heard that again tonight. So people do take advantage of that. The reason why I came tonight is because I think that there needs to be
1 minute.
I think that there needs to be someone to look at the communication at the village hall. This week I got a call from a resident. My number is all over this village and people just call and tell me all kind of stuff, but I had a call from a resident that was crying on the phone, very distressed, a senior, 85 years old. She said her husband had fell down, he was 86 years old. She had surgery on her arm and she couldn't get him up. So I know I don't have the authority to call anybody to come other than 911, but they didn't want that because she says he's a very private person and he would rebuke her if she did that. So I tried to call to the village hall to talk to the mayor. I called and left a voice message on the mayor's machine. I even called one of your close friends and asked him to get in contact with you because I didn't have the authority to do it, but I was able to reach, funnily, Mr. Herkel, and he was able to intervene for that senior couple. So it's just a travesty when people can't get through, and she was crying to me on the phone. I'm old, I'm 85, I don't know what to do. I need help, we live on a dead-end street. My heart was so broken for her. So.
Anyone else? Tagging, I guess it's just assumed that someone is out there raising funds or whatever for whatever organization. I see it a lot too. They should have some type of identification. If they don't, then anyone can call the police. If I see it, I do ask someone to go and find out if they do have proper identification. As far as more than 50 people in the park, I I don't know where that comes from, where it says that you cannot, because that's not going on right now. It may come back to that, because I understand that our COVID numbers are going up, so we may go back to phase 3, which means closing the restaurant. And then all the gatherings outside of it are going to close down too. So, and then also the building people using Saturdays. It's been like this since I've been a part of this village. I see people try to circumvent, and you think that they're not there. All we have to do is come by that Monday morning and we see that you added something on there. We can issue a ticket right then and there if you don't have a building permit. So it's not that they got away, they just got away that Saturday. But they do, our code enforcers do go back, and they're asked, that's why they ride around. If they see something that they didn't see before, and they see it now, they'll ask for a permit for that particular thing that was being done. And the last one, as far as a person that was elderly, and my recommendation would have been, I don't know what happened because I didn't hear anything about it, is to call the proper authorities. I don't have the wherefore or the knowledge to do and to go by, and if that person doesn't want the ambulance to come and take care of them, I mean, I'm sorry, that would have been my suggestion, to call the ambulance, because if I touch them or something and something happens, now I'm liable. So I would never suggest someone, especially, unless it's something right in front of you, but to go to a person's house and assist or whatever, that's what the emergency, the emergency personnel is for your, that's what we pay for ambulance service. And usually ambulance service comes out to the house. They don't ask for money, unless you have an insurance. If you don't, then they don't, they don't bill you, I'll put it that way. But I would never take matters in my own hand. I would suggest anybody else should do that too, especially at that age. Let the professionals, the ones that know what they're doing, handle that. So, so those are just some of the things I appreciate bringing that up, those different questions. We're not going to have an executive session. So I'm going to ask for comments from the trustees. I'll start with Trustee Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, we have the free food box distribution this Saturday at Bloom Trail High School. The trucks have been getting there as early as 7:30, so we are starting to distribute as early as 8 o'clock. We have started a pre-registration at Bloom Trail. If you contact me ahead of time, your boxes will be waiting for you when you come. The remaining boxes will be on a first-come, first-served basis. This Saturday, there's also a blood drive in the Senior Center. We're partnering with Bloom Trail High School for Junior Honor Society. The blood drive is from 9 to 12. Pre-registration is required. You can contact me if you'd like to donate. And lastly, we have a Kidney Foundation, National Kidney Foundation, will be coming to the village of Sauk Village on Thursday, November 19th from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. The village clerk and I are partnering on this event. We hope that people will come out. They're looking to get as many, possibly as 40 to 50 people to come out and be screened. It's free kidney and diabetes screening. I attended this event in Linwood along with the village clerk about 6 weeks ago, and I highly recommend it. So contact the village clerk or myself if you'd like to be screened on Thursday, November 19th. Thank you very much. And finally, I'm sorry that the discussion about the hydrants got out of hand, but however, it needs to take place as soon as possible. I'm in favor of starting the hydrants as soon as we can, however we can. We can always change the program up later on. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Trustee Grant?
Thank you, Mayor. No comment.
Trustee Brewer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My comment is last Wednesday we had a really good discussions about finance and what we should do, and most of it was about fire hydrants. Now, as you guys know, fire hydrants, we have been talking about this issue for the last 20 years. Something needs to be done. We have gone over and over with this issue, and there's no reason for us not to get it done, because we have the money, we have the manpower, let's get it done. So now all this personal issue that comes back, or who doesn't like who, whatever, stuff like that, I do believe that should be on the table, and we need to address these fire hydrants. Now, last week, we had like I said, a really good discussion on fire hydrants. Now, suppose somebody's house get caught on fire here. What we gonna say? Well, we talking about somebody's personal issues? That does not make a lot of sense to me. You know, as much as I communicate doing this, I never talk about people. And it doesn't make any sense to me how this went off the rails and we couldn't get that issue resolved. Like I said, we have the money, we have the manpower, let's get this stuff done. We also have a plan there. There should have been a whole bunch of interaction. We had a plan to start Saturday. Why can't we start Saturday? There's no reason to start Saturday. Residents pay their tax dollars. They should get something for it. And all the thing we're asking for is to get it done. I don't see what the problem is. I don't know, everybody wants this plan for this or plan for that. Get the people out there and get some work done. It is simple. And if we keep going around on this same thing, it doesn't make any sense. We'll be waiting until the next 20 years trying to get some fire hydrants done. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So, I'm through with this. So that's the end of my comment.
Trustee Bell?
It shouldn't matter the age. If somebody, like Ms. Washington was talking about, if somebody needs help, you call 911. They're not, look, they can't charge you. They're going to help you pick you up and put you in a chair. They're not going to charge you for that. Call the fire station. Call somebody. Call your neighbor. They called you. Just call somebody. It doesn't matter. All you got to do, just make the call. So you could be laid on the floor for a week. Who knows? Fire hydrants are a must. Keep sharing your prayers. Thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to bring a couple of things. I don't know if anyone heard, but a plane didn't go down earlier this evening on Route 30 and right off of 394. Little Cessna, it was one person on the plane, so the plane went down. I guess they were headed to Lansing Airport. I'm not sure, but it was on the news, and our responders went there and to try to assist among other people. The next thing is Veterans Day celebration. Veterans Day celebration will be 11/11 at 11. So that's November 11th at 11 a.m. right here in the village. And every year we do this, we honor our veterans. We give them a little something, and we try to have a little something for them to eat too. So that'll be here. So if you know of any veterans, and especially ones that live in the village, tell them to come out. We would love to recognize them, and I'd love to have them to celebrate with us. And with that being said, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Brewer, second by Trustee Bell. Now, I guess we're still virtual, so we have to call a roll call.
Trustee Grant? Trustee Jazinski? Trustee Todd?
Yes.
Trustee Williams?
Yes.
Trustee Bell?
Yes.
Trustee Brewer?
Yes.
Before we go, I don't have all of the particulars in front of me for the Wake funeral, but I think it's already been put out. I think we put it out already.
It's on the Facebook News page.
Okay. All right, then. Motion carried. Good evening.